Hey,
At one
everybody.
point, I was alive as well.
Welcome to Lorebeards 40,000. Alexis, you were saying you were alive, but you were also saying you were painting some models this week.
Yes, we have a couple of commissions that I had to do this week. I have a Lehman Russ tank commander, I have a DACA rig, and I have this pile of Defiler. So
Wow,
this is the top of a Defiler,
I like it.
and I made it all splooshy.
It's on its way to being awesome.
Yeah.
Welcome, everybody. It's Lorebeards 40K. It's Saturday. We are going to be talking about some cool stuff today. But before we get into it, we need to make sure and introduce exactly who we are. Norm Queen Alexis, who are you?
Well, I am just that. I am Norn Queen Alexis. I am a Viking reenactress. I am a Warhammer enthusiast, a 11th edition practitioner.
Enthusiast.
I've been playing this game since 4th edition and I thoroughly enjoy it. Fell in love with the lore, read it religiously for a couple of years and just wound up here. Ross, who are you?
Wow, that's a very short description.
Hey, that did pretty much what happened though.
To be honest, just everyone, Alexis is way underselling herself. She's really awesome. She's a game designer. She's been doing painting on commissions for a really long time and knows her stuff about 40K. Who am I? I am Ross Watson. I am a game designer and author. I've worked on a whole bunch of Warhammer 40K roleplay, the majority of that line. And if you like the lore behind Dark Heresy, Rogue Trader, the Death Watch, the Inquisition, and quite a bit of the Imperial Navy, then, I had a lot to do with that.
Heck yeah.
I was also on the U.S. White Dwarf team for a couple of years, and that's where I know my 40K from. And today we're going to talk about some pretty interesting stuff because, Alexis, what if I told you that beneath the Golden Throne, much
Was the
deeper than...
SCP Foundation?
I mean, it kind of is 40K's SCP Foundation.
It really is.
Beneath the Golden Throne, deeper than any Hablock, deeper than the Sanctum Imperialis, there is a place that even the Conductus Custodes don't really talk about too much. They call it the Dark Cells, or the Black Cells, and for over 10,000 years, well, at least 10,000 years, let's say that, it's as contained things that the Emperor of Mankind himself decided were too dangerous to destroy, and mostly too dangerous to let anyone else find out about.
And when that stuff breaks out, inevitably, the Custodes go and answer the call and go for it.
And some of it has broken out. We have actual lore on that, so that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Tonight we're going in. Over the next 3 hours, we're going to walk through everything we actually know about the Dark Cells, which is, I think, mostly from Codex Adeptus Custodes, the Auric Gods novella, and Cypher Lord of the Fallen, which is a novel.
As well as one Inquisition book.
We're gonna talk about the Shadow Keepers, who are the Custodes who volunteer for one of the loneliest and grimmest postings in the entire Imperium.
Who keep failing at their job, mind you.
Well, let's just say their job is difficult. There's some named prisoners we can talk about, like Subject 11, the Sorrow of Carcalis, and It That Craves. I've met that guy. He goes to my local game store. It That Craves.
Yeah. I heard that he's a real jerk sometimes. It That Craves is always like that power player who's like, no, you can't disembark that far. And, he's got kind of a reputation online.
No, I don't know about that. Here's the thing, like when the Great Rift opened in the current era, the era Indomitus Warhammer 40K, some of these cells were found empty. So we're gonna talk about some theories and figure out together some ideas on why the Emperor built this place at all and what has it been used for. So it's gonna be pretty exciting. Hey, let's get into some of this discussion today. Where would you like to start, Alexis?
Okay, so first off, the big question is, what the heck are these cells? When were they built? And who built them?
Oof. So before the Horus Heresy, there was a thing called the Vaults of Rhython, which is a containment site used by the Legio Custodes. It's unknown if this is the same location the dark cells of Terra, sometimes called the black cells. These are shadowy oubliettes, I think is the word that we're using on the thumbnail for today. It's a prison, and it's buried deep within the Imperial Palace on Terra.
It's not only a prison, though. It's a laboratory.
Well, the Imperial Dungeon is a laboratory.
And we're not sure if the Imperial Dungeon is the same thing.
I'm pretty sure it's not, because the Imperial Dungeon is where Astarte did her work on the Space Marines, and the Emperor had a lot of his stuff down there too. It's unclear what exactly the relationship is between them, but I'm going to say that my feeling is they are separate things. The Dark Cells and the Imperial Dungeon are different things.
The way I see it is, we have the Himalayan mountains. By the way, this is in the Himalayan mountains.
Himalayan, according to the
lore. Yeah, because the lore splits hairs and everything. But that's where the Imperial Palace is. Now, beneath the Imperial Palace, keep in mind the Imperial Palace is gigantic. It takes up the entirety of the Himalayan mountains. It takes up, it goes upwards of, I think, 2 miles high. In some places, it has a space spire as well near it, at least according to some artwork. Its walls are gigantic. The walls are so big that Emperators have to go through the gates.
Imperator Titans, you're saying?
Yes. Now that is Lion's Gate and all those things, but the inner gates they can tend to step over, which is But beneath that is the mountain range. That's all of the places that the Emperor has all of his projects and everything. Lower still is the Webway project. Possibly higher or lower than that is the Imperial Dungeon. Depending, we don't know exactly where it is. Okay,
we could do a whole episode on the Imperial Palace, but I'd really like to, actually.
But I do need to set this up because I need you guys to know the depths of this.
It's deep.
9 miles down, because it does say that it's bigger than any hive city, and the average hive city is 9 miles tall. Below that is the the dark cells. So all the way down there, 9 miles down into Earth itself, is the dark cells. And it is patrolled constantly by 100 Shadow Keepers at any one time until they get killed.
Shadow Keepers is a specific shield host of the Adeptus Custodes, and they have a lot of security measures down there. Runic locks, psychic wards, sanctic circles, and as she said, that rotating patrol of 100 custodians. The whole atmosphere of the place is so unsettling that even the iron-willed Custodes themselves get kind of a little freaked out, because supposedly no light or sound can escape the cells at that level. That's the lore. I
guarantee they're still hearing some things that they don't want to hear.
Sensing somehow, I'm sure. Yeah.
Oh, I'm sure there's some Sisters of Silence with them. I hope, because if not, those Custodians are screwed.
Yeah, as a quick aside, I did look up the size of the Imperial Palace for you. It is the entire Himalayan mountain range and most of the continents.
Yeah, it is. Wait, most of the continent? Isn't that?
Basically, take Nepal, India, and China, and that's the Imperial Palace.
That's huge.
It gets bigger, but by the time we get to the 41st millennium, it is actually most of the hemisphere. So
that is true. And one of the other big things that a lot of people forget is that the oceans on Terra are mostly withdrawn within the planet itself. Some lore states that the oceans dried up. Oceans don't do that. That's not how physics work. But the oceans have receded deeper into the Earth's crust while a lot of it is gone. But the drinking water is completely gone off of Terra, except for one thing that's under the Imperial Palace. There's still fresh water there, which is weird.
Well, it's also important to point out the Imperial Palace is host to many prisons. The Dark Cells are the ones we're talking about today, but there is the Imperial Dungeon, which I do believe is a separate one. There's one called Kangba Marwu, which is where the Crusade host was imprisoned during the heresy. And there's even a mention in a novel by called Saturnine by Dan Abnett. There's a mention of a Blackstone prison, a prison made out of Blackstone mined from Cadia. Although that is the only book that mentions it, so it's definitely curious in terms of its provenance. Let's put it that way.
But we are talking about the darkest dungeon.
Yes, the darkest dungeon on Terra is the Dark Cells. That's what we're here to discuss today. So we talked about the Shadowkeepers a little bit. The biggest deal that you need to know, the most recent thing, is this plot event that happened when the Great Rift tore open the galaxy. We have a whole episode on the fall of Cadia. Go watch that or listen to it, and that'll tell you what that whole thing was. But the Great Rift is the most significant narrative elements of the most recent years of 40K. So it's a big deal. That's what I'm trying to say. And during that event, the Custodians found several of the Dark Cells standing empty. Whatever artifacts or entities that were once sealed within had been, I believe the quote is, spirited away by some unholy force.
Yeah, which does make sense because on Terra, during the Great Rift, like as it was happening, demons did invade Terra. And funny enough, thanks to the call for the Sisters of Silence, the Custodians had some defense against the demons. But demons were possessing people on Terra. They were killing millions of civilians. They were attacking the walls. They were attacking everything. The Custodians had to come out in force and deal with absolutely everything that they could. There's actually a really cool moment where a person is being possessed by a demon of Tzeentch and just like mutating into a bird creature. And the Custodian's presence alone and the Custodian putting their hand on that person gave them so much faith in the Emperor that he stopped being possessed. He was just like, oh, I just got better. Which I'm pretty sure the Inquisition would probably track down that guy and kill him afterwards regardless. But, you know, it's cool to know that that happened.
It's interesting. So the Shadowkeepers, because of this thing where all these things broke loose from the Dark Cells, the Shadowkeepers are now breaking from their tradition, and they're sending warriors out into the wider galaxy to try and hunt down and reclaim these escaped horrors. Do you know what this reminds me of? I mean, did you ever watch in the 90s the Friday the 13th, the television series?
Oh my God, the one that was not related to Jason at all?
Right.
Yeah, I love that series.
It was interesting. And the basic premise was these guys were finding the cursed items that had been sold from their uncle's shop, right? And were scattered across. So it's like that, but in 40K, which I'm really excited. I think that's a cool premise. I would like to write books about it. It would be a lot of fun. There is one specific case, the Sorrow of Karkala, which was a very dangerous being that escaped and was later recaptured in warded chains by the Shadowkeeper Arian Porphyrius in the late 41st millennium, which ended its quote-unquote haunting of the stars.
Which that sounds an awful lot like a Catan. Maybe even a Catan shard.
That's literally all we know about it.
Yeah.
We know its name and that's it. So yeah, there you go. But that's there's not a lot of actually solid lore on the Dark Cells. We're gonna be telling you what we know canonically, and then we're gonna talk about like some speculation because there's a lot of speculation.
We do know that Cypher made it into them and then escaped.
Well, we know
he escaped 100 Custodians.
There's also a guy we're going to talk about a little bit later on from the Siege of Terra who escaped. Basilius Foe is a warlord from the Unification Wars. So
cool.
The official list of things that we know that are within the Dark Cells. The Slithering Dreamer, whatever that is. This was killed by a Shadowkeeper named Jeharal Feldorius Gao on a planet called Tarnus 4. And that's basically all we know about it because it's just a little blurb in a Codex Ductus Custodes. The Black Periapt of Rytheniel, which sounds very Lovecraftian. I love it. Cypher and his fallen angels until they escaped.
I think only Cypher escaped out of it.
Yeah, Cypher definitely did. for sure.
Yeah.
This is from the book Cypher Lord of the Fallen. So if you want to find out more about that, go read that. There's something called Subject 11.
Yeah, that feels SCP.
It does. It also could relate to missing Primarchs or lost Primarchs.
Yeah, it is the reference to the missing Primarch, but it does sound an awful lot like an SCP.
It That Craves. We talked about that. One of the Fell. What does that mean? I don't know, but it's a great name.
What the hell are the Fell? Apparently, they're creatures so powerful that the Emperor is worried about them.
Something called the Tri-Blight Amulet, which is it sounds like a device rather than a person or a being. But
yeah, it does sound like it sounds like a Nurgle necklace.
It does, because Nurgle is associated with the three circles of his symbol, and a blight. It does sound very Nurgle-y to me. I would agree with that. Something called the Lament of Unreason. God, I love that name. That's so good.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Love that one. There's also something called the Vexen Cage. Now, this is from a novella called Auric Gods.
That's what I call my bedroom.
And it is described. Wow, Jesus! Wow, the Vexen Cage. I love it. It is described as a psychic amplifier that is capable of subduing or mentally enslaving thousands of beings at once. I mean, again, we're telling you what we know. We'll speculate. Yep. We're going to speculate a little later on, but we're telling you what we know first.
Yeah.
The Sorrow of Kakala we talked about. There's the Chalice of Dark Alabaster. It's like one word.
Dark Alabaster is how I was pronouncing it. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think GW forgot a space.
I mean, possibly. There's something called the Soul Delver.
Right.
The Eight of the Skull, which sounds very corny.
The Eight of the Skull is actually a greater demon of Khorne.
Oh, see, there you go.
Yeah,
we know, actually, you're right, because these are the demons, right? The Soul Delver, Eight of the Skull, these are two of the demons that are down there, the greater demons.
There are 4 greater demons kept within the prisons themselves to train, that Shadow Keepers have to go against to train themselves to be Shadow Keepers.
That's right. I forgot. I'm sorry.
Yeah, and they have a trial. I'm going to get into this in a little bit, but it's really cool that there are 4 trials, 4 greater demons, and it's very, very similar to a very specific character that I want to talk about in just a bit.
So Soul Delver is a greater demon of Tzeentch. Eight of the Skull is a greater demon of Khorne. Sevenfold Tri-Miasma, that's a greater demon of Nurgle. Granter of All 6 Wishes is a greater demon of Slaanesh. We know that. And then we get to 3 more, and these come from Lord of the Fallen Cypher book. Something called the Eater of Gods, something called the Serpent of Ending, and something called the Unmaker of Thrones. And that's the full list of what we know.
That's the canonical. These definitely exist. And that is it. That's it. We're done. Good episode.
Yeah. Thanks, everybody. I'm joking. We're definitely not going to end it right there. We're definitely not going to end it right there. But that is kind of what is known for facts. And now we're going to talk about like some of the crazier stuff about it. Now, Alexis, do you want to talk about that trial and the demons and all that stuff?
Well, before that, I think we get to these 2 super chats.
Oh, we do. Okay, great. Let's get into those. Bring those up. And which one's the first one?
We got this one.
Hey, Donovan95, thank you for the super chat. He says, random question for an urban warfare guard regiment I've had. Okay.
I love it.
That is a random question. Would a heavy weapon team with a Ripper gun without firing restrictions be an effective weapon for confined choke points, or would it be easier to just use a heavy bolter?
So there is actually an answer to this.
The
answer is a heavy flamethrower. Like, people can't hide in the building if you set the building on fire.
So here's the thing. Ripper guns would be very awkward for non-Ogrins to use.
Yeah.
Possible, but not easy. And frankly, the heavy flamer would probably have a very similar effect at a very similar range, although the Ripper gun does have a longer range. So for a very confined choke point at very short range, the Ripper gun would certainly be effective, but I think the heavy flamer would be more effective. Yeah. Now, if you have a choke point that has a slightly longer field of view than say a Ripper gun or a flamer, heavy bolter's your guy. Or I mean, heavy stubber would also do the same thing. So
yeah,
either one of those two is what I wonder if he meant heavy stubber instead of Ripper gun, but I don't know. He said without firing restrictions, so I'm assuming it is the actual Ogre and Ripper gun.
Yeah, because the Ogre and Ripper gun is strictly meant as a weapon so bulky that you can bludgeon with it. Like, because it's a weapon that's simple. It's a weapon that Ogrins can reload, and hit people with. So it's not exactly a weapon that's set up on tripods or carried too often by humans, because it doesn't have as much recoil resistance as a normal gun does. A heavy bolter, technically, a guardsman can hold and shoot, and depending on augmentation, can probably just hold it up and shoot. Like
Warrior Woman from the Last Chancers.
Yeah,
I think.
I was going to talk about the girl from the Last Chancers, the Cadian guy that has one, and there's a few other instances of this happening. Now, I'm speculating and saying that they're not full autoing the heavy bolter, because then you would just lose your tracking really quickly. But if you had like a tripod, you'd want heavy bolter or a heavy flamethrower. I think that would be the easiest way of doing it. And then we got another one from Dinoman.
Dinoman says, it always seems weird to me that Terra has such a high population. Like, I've always imagined it as this super sacred fortress / cathedral planet with a population in the billions. That is actually correct. However, some sources say its population is in the quadrillions, which is orders of magnitude bigger than most hive worlds. The novels say quadrillions, just to be clear.
Yeah, quadrillions is 1,000 billion. I would say at best it has a population in the billions.
So, several hundred billion, I think, is fair. Is fair.
Yeah, but I wouldn't say that it has a sustained population of that, because there's constantly people dying and getting replaced. And does it have that population, or is that the population of pilgrims going to the planet itself and leaving the planet, because they are shuttled in and out?
Yeah, there's actually people have. There's a really fun thing these guys online have done where they're making models based on John Blanche sketches, and they have imagined this Necromunda style skirmish game built around different groups of pilgrims fighting it out in the line to go to the Imperial Palace.
Oh my god, that would be so much fun.
I know, and it's such a rad idea. I'm like, oh my god, that's amazing. But the line to get into the Imperial Palace is several hundred. It's at least hundreds of miles long.
Do you know what game that I want to play? Hear me out on this. It's Necromunda, but your basic troop is the custodian. And for every one custodian, you get 3 Space Marines, okay? And it's the unification war of Terra. And you have to go up against the cybernetic, like, augmented creatures who are human.
Unification wars, I would love to see a game set then.
Because could you imagine how creepy they would look? It would look like Geiger shit with, like, mechanics sticking out of them.
It'd be very Mad Max, which I like.
Yeah.
So, Dinoman, to get back to your question, there's lore has fluctuated, and it's the population of Terra. But what we do know is that the planet has 0 arable land remaining. Okay, virtually the entire surface of Terra is buried under a hive city sprawl, administrative complexes, the Imperial Palace, like all of those things. So the population would need to be enormous just to staff and inhabit that much built up.
1,000 trillion. Holy shit. Never mind.
That built up infrastructure. So I'm gonna say, for me, what I think is a reasonable number is in the hundreds of billions.
I don't even think I would safely say 1 trillion live there.
That's why I said hundreds. That's why I said hundreds of billions.
Yeah,
I think is fair. But it's all, it's not just that. We should do a whole episode on Terra, because there's Terra. When you talk about Terra, it's not just Terra. It's Terra and Luna. It's the orbital plates that they have. and there's all kinds of stuff in orbit around Terra as well.
The phalanx.
Yeah, so we should do a whole episode on Holy Terra. But if you count the moon and the orbitals and the plates that are just sort of hovering, continent-sized plates, it's the amount of land and space that could be filled is very big, but it's not. I don't quite feel a quadrillion is correct. Let's put it that way.
Yeah, a quadrillion is fucking huge. Like I holy shit, it's huge.
This is the part of the show where I say thank you for the super chats, because if you want to keep the show going, you want to make the hosts capable of presenting more material to you, super chats are the absolute best way to support us and keep more Lorebeards 40K content coming your way. So we're always grateful to everyone who chooses to support us with super chats. Biofoot7874 says, damn, 40K stealing from the SCP universe. 40K stolen from everything, dude. Like everything.
It's not stolen. It's heavily inspired by and makes their names not copyrightable.
Yeah.
I still remember when they tried to sue Fox for the copyright of Space Marine. And then Fox is just like, we own Alien. Go away. And they're just like, dang it.
I mean, yeah, there's been a lot of weird lawsuits over things in the past. But, all right, where were we? We were talking about the 4 demons in the trials, right?
Yes. So. I got to make sure I get these demons really quickly. I think I have them all in order so I can, hang on. Okay, yeah, it's Soul Delver. It's the 8 of the Skulls. It's the Sevenfold, whatever. It's the Granter of the 6 Wishes. Okay, so the first thing that they have to do is, they have to look a greater demon, specifically a greater demon of Tzeentch in the 9 eyes for how long is it? It's for 9 days and nights without blinking. Now, keep in mind, Tzeentch can alter your perception of time. So they have to do this trial and just stand there and stare at it for 9 days on Terra, which we don't know how long that dude needs to actually stand there, because he might be standing there for what seems like 9 days to him, but it's actually like 90 years, 100 years pass in the blink of an eye. He might it might be like Itachi's Mangekyo Sharingan and just hitting him with like, hey, you could live your entire lifespan in an instant. And that was only a second. Now you have to do this for 9 days. And I just think that's crazy. I love that. Also, anime reference. And you got that anime reference, you nerd.
I totally did.
Anime
beards are live.
Now, the next trial is the 8 of the Skulls, where they have to defeat a demon without using their weapons or power armor. They literally strip naked. We're back to naked custodians. We did it, everyone. So, in this case, it is a greater demon of Khorne. So typically a bloodthirster, though there are greater demons of each of the gods that are not Lords of Change, Great Unclean Ones, bloodthirsters, or Keepers of Secrets. There are just generic greater demons. Okay? But typically they take the form of one of those specific 4 things. So the custodians strip out of their armor. They go in there, they oil themselves up, and they're just like, Turkish oil wrestling, let's go. And I'm sure that greater demon in that cell is just like, yeah, let's go. This is great. Probably having the time of his life, to be honest. Honestly, that one might be the easiest trial, because greater demons tend to fluctuate in power.
Depending on who's writing them.
Yeah, depending on who's writing them, because Celestine has downed about 8 greater demons in the most recent lore. She took down 4 alone on the Battle for Cadia. She took on like 3 or 4 more during the Eye of Night. She took on, well, I think she took on 1. She took on a few others in the Graham McNeil novels and the Gav Thorpe novels.
You just can't wait to do an episode on St. Celestine, can you?
I'm going to keep mentioning her as much as I can. But greater demons, what I'm trying to say is they fluctuate in power. Like in Space Marine 2, that's not even a fully summoned Lord of Change, and it's super powerful. That is actually just, I think it's what is it? It's 7. No, what's Zinch's number? Zinch's
Oh,
number is
geez.
it's not 6, it's not 8, it's not
Is it
7.
9?
It's 9. There are 9 possessed characters that you need to kill in order for the demon summoning to actually fail. And then you need to flip reality and then shoot it with a beam, which is definitely Necron technology, and the Imperium is definitely using Necron technology to defeat this demon. But that one is super powerful, and it took 9 possessed to summon it. That's really cool. And that's a really powerful Lord of Change, but their powers fluctuate like they are not leveled in any way, shape, or form. You cannot power scale them because one guy can actually beat them. Elanius Pius stood up to a great unclean, not a great unclean one. What the fuck is it? The Bloodthirster by himself. And it's like, all right, that was a normal dude way back in the day who did that. That was just a normal dude. Now he's
Alianus
not a
Pius
normal
is
dude.
not a normal dude.
Well,
Be very clear. To be very
he was supposed
clear,
to be.
the Alianus Pius is extremely different from a normal dude, and we
Yes,
should do a whole episode on him at some point
Yes, we
because
should.
Alianus Pius is a very interesting guy. But he is. Do not
Nowadays,
think of him as a person or a human being because he is beyond that, by orders of magnitude beyond that.
yes. But I mean, when the story was originally written about him, he was just
Okay.
supposed to be a normal guy who stood up.
Okay, the oldest, you're talking about the really old
The
lore
really,
about,
really old lore
yeah,
about him.
so Alianus Pius, the short version is that in the early days of 40k, he was written as a normal guy, but he has been developed in the Horus Heresy novels to be much, 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 much more. And we should do a whole episode about him someday.
Yeah, because I don't like it. I liked his original lore. I like that it was just a normal dude that stood up.
I do too, and we should cover it.
Yes,
for sure.
The next trial is the sevenfold triasma.
Trimiasma.
Trimiasma.
Mm-hmm.
Apparently he's going against fucking Naraku. Anyway, you get that reference too.
So, would you mind just briefly saying the reference out loud for people so they can go look it up if they're curious?
That's an Inuyasha reference. And the main villain was named Naraku, and every time he appeared, he's like poison gas.
Because was he the main villain?
Yeah, he was the main villain.
Well, are you sure? I mean, all right, well, fair enough.
I mean, he also gave one of the characters a literal plot hole as a hand weapon. But we're not talking about that right now.
Please, I don't want to do a whole episode on Inuyasha. I really don't.
I would.
Oh my gosh. Sit, boy.
So the sevenfold triasma was the custodian has trimiasma. Yeah, trimiasma.
There you go.
Anyway, the custodian has to go into the room with it and then take off all of its protective gear and just breathe for 3 hours. Now, I want to point out one thing real quick. Also, holy shit. I will get to that in a moment. Wow. Anyway, damn. The Great Unclean Ones of Nurgle technically also mess with time because they have the end and the death of stars, the death of the beginning as their greater demons, which all represent time death, which is a really cool concept in Warhammer 40k, that you can outlast the entire universe and die, and that's the end of all things, which is one of the greater demons of Nurgle. And technically, Gilliman beat it. Sure. But anyway, you have to go in there and basically sit at a magic table and play a game as a custodian against somebody that smells really bad for 3 hours.
Well, it should be pointed out, one of Nurgle's core elements is mastery over numbers.
Mm-hmm.
His tallymen, very famously, are able to count and figure, and mathematics is actually it's actually a big part of Nurgle that a lot of people overlook. If you're familiar with Wrath of Glory, one of the free RPG Day adventure for that involved Nurgle cults brute forcing a keypad combination through a plague on a little in an imperial medical compound, which I came up with that. I was like, if he's so good at numbers, maybe he could just like hack the Mechanicus, And I was like, okay, well, how would he do that? And we figured that anyway. Point being is that that this is not any normal game. A greater demon of Nurgle has an understanding of math and numbers that are typically greater than most humans. Let's put it that way.
In fact, their mastery of mathematics is so good they can solve a puzzle before they even get there. And this was really shown extremely well in a Hammer and Bolter episode where the Chaos Lord told his followers that he knows that he can get in there because he already did, and the thing rotted from within, and he walked into the Astropathic Choir and sent his message back in time to open the door, which is such a cool thing, and I absolutely love it. So, I mean, sitting across from the smelliest of Magic, Yu-Gi-Oh, or Pokemon players, whichever your TCG you prefer, I don't think One Piece players smell yet. I also don't think there's enough of them to smell yet. But I'm just imagining sitting there and just playing a card game against them would be the worst experience of your entire life. Moving on from there, we have the last of them, the Keeper of Secrets, the Greater Demon of Slanesh.
The Granter of Six Wishes.
Yep. And in order to pass this trial, the potential Shadowkeeper, keep in mind, they're not custodians yet. Well, they might be custodians.
Is this what is the nature of this trial again? Is it to become a Shadowkeeper? Is that what they need to do?
It's to become a Shadowkeeper. So they might be a custodian.
They're already a custodian by that point.
Yeah, that's switching, or I assume it's a custodian switching to the Shadowkeepers versus
the Shadowkeepers are like, they have one of the greatest responsibilities.
Yeah, so it doesn't make sense that they would just take on somebody new. They would take on a veteran.
Well, so there's no such thing as a scout custodian, to be clear, right? You are, when you put on that armor, you're fully trained and ready to do your job. Yep. But the Shadowkeepers is it's a prestigious position, but it's also one of just incredibly weighty responsibility. So they want to make sure that the guys who are guarding the dark cells of Terra, one of the most dangerous areas of the Imperial Palace, their responsibility is so heavy that they make sure there's a special level of tests. You could argue that the Shadowkeepers are possibly the most elite of all the custodians because they have been through these tests and passed them.
Yep. I believe that they are. They're also probably the most religious, and I'm going to get into that in a moment. I have reason for this.
Okay, all right.
I actually have a reason for this. So the thing that this custodian must do is they stand before this demon, okay? And I don't know if you've ever seen a Slanesh demon, but you're looking at one on your screen. I mean, don't report me to the Inquisition.
Whoa, hey!
Jokes aside, but if you have ever seen a demon of Slanesh, they appear as the thing that you are most after in your life. This doesn't mean that they're just like sexy boob creatures, though that's probably what would get me. They appear as your greatest desire. So like to an orc, they might appear as like an orc with a sail on firearms, which would be hilarious. Or a truck just sitting there, painted up beautifully and just ready to be stolen. But it might be something that you're really after. Like it might be a thing of chicken nuggets. I mean, roasted potatoes cooked in any form would get me too. But jokes aside, you must stand there and listen to this demon for an entire day and walk away unmoved from the demon themselves. Now, I don't imagine that means just like hover away like that. I imagine that it means that you must be able to witness all the glory and everything, the excesses that Slanesh can give you. Everything imaginable, all the lies, all the temptations, all the garlic bread. Okay? And then you have to just go, no, and walk away.
So now, Slanesh has appeared as art as well, like the opera, the Maraviglia, aboard Fulgrim's battleship during the Horus Heresy is a good example of this. So if you imagine yourself in the Louvre looking at a stunning work of art, that could be a sculpture, it could be a painting, that could be a manifestation of Slanesh. They can even appear as loved ones you have lost. If you have certain memories of someone that you were very close to, that not necessarily intimate memories either, but just something that could be taken as to a level beyond what is normally acceptable, an excessive obsession with something. I think
goal.
We've all felt infatuation, right? We've all felt
yeah,
limerence. We've all seen somebody be like, you get a little obsessed with them. So that is where Slanesh likes to live, is in the things, the areas, the things, the people, even the art that you can get obsessed with. And I know I'm a movie lover. You know, if you want to talk about Big Trouble in Little China with Kurt Russell, that would be how Slanesh would get me, because I'd be like, oh, well, let me tell you why that's a masterpiece. Yeah.
I'm just imagining Gosgold is just like, I can't get tempted. It's Yarick going. And he's just like, oh, yeah.
Oh, it's Yarick that wants to fight. That's it.
It's Yarick going like this.
Yeah. There you go. Come on, let's go. Let's fight.
But yeah, those are the trials. Now, what's cool about that is a very, very important character in the setting that I'm going to do a whole episode on. And Ross is going to be there.
Good. I was like worried for a second. I'm like, oh my God, what's happening?
But Celestine, in her novel, has to go through something very similar in her trial, but it's within the Emperor's domain, which is the spot in the warp where the light of the Astronomicon goes. It's within that light that the Emperor keeps 4 greater demons. And these greater demons are the things that constantly test Celestine. And Celestine has to overcome trials by these greater demons to find herself, find her honor, and find her duty. That's not poop. That's what she needs to do. And each time, each one of them confronts her with a different puzzle. Either sometimes they just come at her to fight, or sometimes they try to drive her away from the path of the Emperor. And each and every single time she defeats these demons, she moves on to the next demon before she's granted another piece that makes her Celestine. And each and every single time she sees that all the dead Celestines before her, she walks through a literal pile of corpses that is her in every way she's ever died, and has all of those memories and all of that pain. And she has to walk through all of that to become Celestine once again. And then once she finally becomes Celestine, puts on the armor and has the wings extend from her, which might not actually be part of her armor, depending. But once she becomes Celestine, the light of the Astronomicon guides her to where she needs to be. She flies through it and appears where she is needed. Something similar might happen with the Legion of the Damned, because Celestine does mention in this novel that she walks amongst the corpses of those most loyal. And, well, there's that whole theory. But in one of the Celestine either audio dramas or books, I apologize. I read so much and listen to so much that all of it just mixes together in my brain. And if I am wrong, chat, please call me out and I will correct myself in the future. But in one of the books, a Shadow Keeper is standing there next to Celestine, and Celestine pulls in a greater demon inside of her and just goes, "Okay, kill me." And the Shadow Keeper's like, "All right, look, I'm not the most religious, but I'm pretty sure I don't want to kill a living saint." And Greyfax is standing there, and she's like, "No, she'll come back to life." And he's just like, "All right." Stabs her with the Guardian Spear through where both her hearts would be, but Celestine only has one. But custodians are so accustomed to killing Astartes, Chaos Space Marines, and others like that they have a whole fighting style, karate, that they kill in. And he kills Celestine, pulls the spear out, and is like, "Well, now I feel really bad." But the demon's defeated, and then Celestine gets up and is a miracle in front of this custodian, and the custodian's just like, "Okay, we are never going to mention this in any way, shape, or form ever again." And it's a really cool moment, and I think that the Shadow Keepers really well. We know that the custodians have a good relation with the Sisters of Battle, which is very odd because the custodians hate everything. but knowing that they go through a similar trial might actually make their spirits stronger. Now, keep in mind, this is my theory. It might make them spiritually stronger and probably have more faith in the emperor. Not faith that he's a god, mind you, but faith in him to protect them. Because the custodians have been quoted saying God and godlike when you're standing next to him, you can't tell the difference.
So there is another group that can get in and out besides the Shadow Keepers into the Dark Cells, or at least we think there is. This is a little less lore, but we'll get into that in a second because we have some big super chats we need to handle.
Yes, we do. Yes, there is holy crap. Anyway.
Smash Muller, good to see you, sir. Thank you for the super chat. He says, "You two make my date a little better every time you live stream." Thank
Hell
you.
yeah.
We appreciate
I'm assuming
buddy.
you meant day, but yes.
Hey, date. I'm wearing my Adeptus Custodius shirt today, by the way, because we are talking about the Shadow Keepers as part of the Dark Cells. So that's my t-shirt.
I am
for
wearing
the day.
one of my 4 shirts that I cycle through until laundry day, and then I pick out the other shirts. But I have like 5 shirts that are very comfortable, and this one is all nice and torn on the side. Like, it's very comfy.
It looks good. It does look comfy. Dino Man, it would be funny, he says, if that Zinch demon makes it feel like 10 seconds to intentionally let weaker-willed Custodes pass the tests. Now that would be a schemer. That would be a move that Zinch would be totally into, to be clear. The Chaos Gods can be very subtle and nuanced when they want to. And Zinch tends to operate in a space where he is the most likely one to do this kind of approach. That's a very interesting theory, and personally, I could see it. I wouldn't say it happens all the time, probably, because if you establish a pattern, that's definitely going to tip people off. But yeah, I think that's not only possible but likely that it has occurred.
Oh my god, that is actually devious, and I love it.
That's devious and evil. It's right up Zinch's alley. All right, Fire7, thank you for the super chat. That's probably the biggest super chat we've ever gotten. Thank you so much.
It is the biggest super chat we've gotten. Holy shit, man. Thank you so much.
Really appreciate you, Fire. He says, "Heyo, guys, love your show. I know this is might be a sidetrack a bit, but what are your opinions on Armageddon? And do you think the less popular chapters might get some attention, like the Iron Hands, Raven Guard, and White Scars?" We do have a whole episode on Armageddon if you want to go check that out, but we're happy to rehash a little bit of that now. I'm assuming he's talking about the planet and not the there was like a Kill Team box.
There's also a video game and the starter box.
So I'm going to assume
he's video game.
I'm assuming he's talking about the 11th edition box set is what I think he's talking
about. I'm assuming the story and everything to 11th edition. As a Space Marine player, I absolutely love it. The fact that the White Scars aren't getting much, and they sent more companies than the Blood Angels, and the Blood Angels are on the front. I get why the Blood Angels are on the front. They're the most heroic. Dante took command originally. Now it's Kalger taking command. I really think it should have been Tushan taking command, since he brought 8 companies of salamanders. But I do think that the Iron Hands should get another character out of this, or a very unique unit. I want them, strictly Iron Hands, to get a Redemptor Dreadnought that has a Tech Priest inside it, or Tech Marine inside it. I want them to have unique.
Oh, that would be rad. A Tech Priest Dreadnought. Oh man, I'm in.
Or Tech Marine Dreadnought, but yes,
Tech Marine Dreadnought. Yeah, for Iron Hands. Oh, I'm so in. In.
A named character that is just theirs. And
why don't we have a Tech Marine Dreadnought? We have a Librarian Dreadnought.
We have a Chaplain Dreadnought.
We have a Chaplain Dreadnought. Why don't we have that? Yeah, come on.
And it should be uniquely theirs, because that is the perfect chapter for it.
I agree.
Raven Guard did get a good chunk of love. They did get their 2 newest units, and I do love them. I actually just bought them, and I'm waiting for them to come in. And I'm going to paint them up as Space Wolves, because, well, I have Space Wolves and I have my Sons of Garrow. But I think that they should get their Night Furies. I really think they should bring the Night Furies into 40K.
The Night Furies were a special group of jump pack assault troops they had in the Horus Heresy era, and it would be good to bring them back. Yeah, I agree.
Like, that would be their unique unit. The White Scars should get jet bikes. Like, you want to make them different than Dark Angels, you just give them a jet bike unit.
I'm in. I think that's a great idea.
You got Saboto Khan on a jet bike already. take that jet bike, call it the Lance bike, I don't care, and make a squad of them with spears. And boom, you basically got the unit from Heresy to 40k, and that's how I would do that. I know this is a side tangent, but we are answering this question. I think absolutely they should get love. And I am right there with you. I think Blood Angels got a good amount of stuff. I think Ultramarines get all the participation trophies in the world. I'm
Oh,
kind of sick of
oh,
seeing that.
oh, you're killing me, Alexis.
I know.
Ow.
I know they're the main characters. I know that they're super popular. I get that. But I want me to have some secondary like chapters to be
Well,
there.
you know I'm in favor of all this. So I think, and it's our show. We can speculate if we want to, right? Like let's take a couple of minutes. The Iron Hands would have their, personally, in my opinion, what I think would be cool is if they were to escalate the Iron Hands involvement because of the tech threat of the orcs, because we know they have teleporters. The new Nasdrag model's out, and you guys can, right after. So, by the way, we're doing a new way of doing polls. Right after this show, there will be a poll up for next week, and Nasdrag is one of those options. If you want to hear us talk about Nasdrag, who is a orc. Anyway, the point being is that the orcs on the Armageddon have a lot of interesting tech, a lot of weird technology. So it would be a thematically perfect hook for deeper Iron Hands involvement, given that their chapter's identity is heavily built around biological weakness and, you know, the machine replacing that. So if you had, you know, it would be real. Okay, so hear me out, Alexis. Somebody use
All right, I'm hearing.
All right. You could actually have two releases, one being a Mech Boy lore engine, some sort of Mech Boy Dread with the Iron Hands Tech Marine Dread, and that way you could have one of each on either side, which would be really rad.
Mm-hmm.
Or you could have a full clan company deploy, trying to purify the corrupted machines of the orcs, or you could have, I don't know. There's a lot of interesting points that the Iron Hands get involved in, but then there's the Raven Guard, our bird boys.
Yeah.
Wazdaka Gutsmech is there, right, on Armageddon. And we have a whole episode on Wazdaka. Go watch that if you want to hear more about Wazdaka. Basically, Cult of Speed, right? And so Raven Guard are also involved with fast-moving Vanguard type strikes. So the Raven Guard's doctrine is ambush, sabotage, hit and fade strikes. You know, they don't direct confrontation, not so much. So you could have the Raven Guard and their successor chapters, which we know some of them are present on Armageddon.
Yeah.
Love to see the Raptors, for example, get more love. So Raven Guard Raptors, they could pivot to lean into that, more search and destroy duties, more dedicated missions to disrupt supply lines or command structures, exploit their stealth specialization. And you know what you could do is you could pair that with some new commando models.
They did get new commandos.
Okay, so but there you go. But that you could frame that as it's the commandos versus the Dark Furies or whatever. That would be really
yeah.
Wild speculation. To be clear, we don't know anything about this. We are not Games Workshop people. We don't know what they're planning. But these are just thoughts. Now, what you said, White Scars and jet bikes. Yeah. How would you do that?
So similar to the Outriders, but they would just have 3 power weapons. It would be a 3-man unit that only Sabodin Khan can join. And it would just be, they have 4 attacks apiece, strength 5, AP 2, damage 2, make it the standard power weapon. On the turn that they charge, they up their strength and damage to represent that they're flying in to thrust them into you. And then they would just have an ability where they can fall back, shoot, and charge every turn. And their bikes would just have built-in bolters.
You know, honestly, Raven Guard would be good at the things I said, but Cult of Speed would actually be better off as a thematic opponent for Subodin Khan and the White Scars. Mm-hmm. And, you know, some kind of running battle, like actually fighting while flying around between Subodin Khan and his guys and Wazdaka and his guys. That would be one hell of a duel, and I would love to read that story of those two guys going, just cruising around doing that stuff. So those are some of our thoughts on Armageddon.
And for the White Scars, the Salamanders. For the Salamanders, I'd give them back the Fire Drakes. I'd give them a special unit upgrade to the Pyro guys. I can't remember their name right now. The
Pirate class.
Power class. I'd give them a special upgrade that ups their damage, and that would just be the representation of that ability.
Thank you so much, Fire. That was a great question.
Yeah, and you're awesome for that. Thank you so much.
Dynaman, Alexis, he says, surely you are playing against a smelly player of Paradox Billiards, Vestroyan Roulette, Fourth Dimensional Hypercube Chess, Strip Poker.
I get this reference. That's a good one. And yes, I do play Yu-Gi-Oh!
Nice. It's time to duel. Sebastian Muller, good to see you again. He says, I meant day. It's day. Yeah, we figured. We figured it's fine. Also, by the way, I subscribe to the theory that Celestine is an Imperial demon.
I like
where your head's at.
Okay. She is summoned. She does live in the warp. She does have a physical form, though. That's one of the things, but GW has actually been slowly moving away from demons not being physical, which kind of annoys me. I like that they're not tangible. I like that you think they're there, therefore they're there. I like the parallel dimension using quantum mechanics to summon demons in. I think that's really, really rad. Because GW accidentally stumbled onto the coolest sci-fi demons by accident. But they've slowly been moving away to demons in 40K are more possession than anything else. But I do like the idea that you can summon Imperial Saints. I won't say that they're Imperial demons because I don't like the term demon.
They're not dissimilar.
But they are very similar. Like in the graph,
there's overlap.
A spot where it's like, you bitch, you got me. You're technically correct, which is the best kind of correct.
So, as someone who has worked on Star Wars and the Lord of the Rings and a few other big IPs, it can be frustrating when the lore changes and evolves and adopts. Famously, of course, nerds love change. They embrace it. Which I joke. But I will say this, having worked on the Lord of the Rings and Star Wars, I can say that I think I really do appreciate the way the Games Workshop evolves its lore. And I think the slow, backgrounded, they do it in a way that I like, as opposed to changes that there are other IPs that I think are not nearly as well handled. Star Wars being a good example of this, about how they changed their lore over time. So it can be frustrating, but I think at the end of the day, it's actually a good way to go. Let's put it that way. All right, we got Donovan, Apothecary Dreadnought during surgery. Brother, pass me the scalpel.
Actually, I thought of something sick for this. Okay, do you know you play Darktide, right?
Yeah.
Okay, do you know that the thing that injects you with like stem cells really quickly and adrenaline? That's how it repairs you, or at least that's what the intent is behind it. It just stabs you with adrenaline and just fucking fixes your wounds really quickly.
I think so, yes.
Yeah. Or it's not that, it's the fake skin they throw over it. I forget what the fake skin that they use in the Imperium is called. Synth skin. It throws synth skin over your wounds and then hits you with adrenaline. So it's just like, yeah, you're good. Go fight. You're not going to feel this. Or it repairs your bone instantaneously, which can only be excruciatingly painful. But I always imagined a penitent engine. Okay, so a pen engine. They're scary looking. Now imagine that with like surgeons attached to it, but it's like servitor surgeons, and it's just walking towards you like, I'm going to heal you. And that would be the scariest shit. And I imagine that as a Sister of Battle unit. A penitent engine hospitaler that heals you.
That would be cool. I would like to see that. Fun fact, don't forget, Apothecaries and Space Marines, medics are not their role. Their role is to get the gene seed. The medic stuff is what they do when they're not grabbing gene seed off of dead bodies, but that is their primary purpose. That's fun. I like that, Donovan. That's a good one. Icevane says, I know the Angel of Destruction was intended for the imprisonment beneath Terra, but it was smuggled out of the solar system to be sealed away by the Emperor on Karis Cephalon. Do you think it was too dangerous to keep on Terra? Okay.
Are you ready for things too scary? Well, we're going to get back into that. Because why aren't the Extendios in the Imperial prison?
They I believe it was you who mentioned the Angel of Destruction a while back on this show. Not this episode, but several episodes ago. It is on the list of things to talk about. It's a very obscure thing. I will briefly talk about it here and now because it's really, really cool. And it is relevant. And I like the way that you brought this up in the context of the Dark Cells, because that is one of the few places you will find us talking about things like the Angel of Destruction. So, okay. Oh my God. Are you ready for this? Alexis.
Hang on. Okay, I'm ready.
The Angel of Destruction is one of the weirdest, most obscure parts of 40K lore ever. And it comes from an adventure for the Inquisitor miniature game that was also kind of like a role-playing game that came out in the early 2000s. Gav Thorpe wrote it. This is where we found out about the Ordo. The three Ordos of the Inquisition. Before the Inquisitor miniature game, we didn't have that. Okay, and they had these little scenario packs that were also like little adventures, because it was very RPG-esque in ways. The Inquisitor game. And in one of those adventures, again, this is something very few people have ever seen. There was this thing called the Angel of Destruction. It was an incredibly powerful living weapon created by the Emperor himself on Terra during the Unification Wars. So it was definitely on Terra, and it was definitely something I would imagine him wanting to put it into one of the cells, because the Angel's purpose was to destroy the Emperor's enemies during the Unification Wars. It was like it's kind of like a Doom Slayer. It's kind of like Doom Guy from
it kind of reminds me of
the Doom games.
It kind of sounds like Proto Celestine.
Well, are you ready for this?
Yeah, I'm ready.
It was described as roughly twice the height of a man, with mighty wings, wielding a massive flaming sword, burning with the intensity of a sun, and leaving a trail of blue fire in its wake as it moved.
That's just Proto Celestine.
It fought directly alongside the Emperor and reportedly helped him kill a Zinchian demon prince named Farah Guayat. I can't even pronounce this. Farah Guayatola. Farah Guayatola. You know what? That's the best I can do. Farah Guayatola. Let's just call it that. Which was an entity that, according to this book, had tormented mankind since ancient times. We're talking about, this is the fringest of fringe lore, guys. This is way out there on the canon spectrum, all right? But according to this book, that's what the Angel of Destruction was. It did have, apparently, though, a fatal flaw, which was that it had this endless and insatiable thirst for vengeance, and that it eventually spiraled beyond the Emperor's control, which meant it was turned genocidal. And
I don't see the problem.
There's a lot more. I'm not going to get into the whole thing, because we could do an episode on this thing, just like we did one on the Dark Cells. And it's definitely something I'd like to cover more. But yeah, too dangerous to keep on Terra. That is a judgment call, because a lot of the stuff in the Dark Cells is very dangerous. It's super dangerous. Where would you keep? I mean, Karacephalon is very far away, and I have to assume.
Now, hear me out.
According to that book, it was like smuggled off of Terra. So just to be clear, I don't know.
You smuggle a 12-foot tall human.
You know what?
That's on fire with giant wings.
It's 40K. It can happen.
You can murder all of these people this way. Come on.
Too dangerous to keep on Terra. It certainly is highly dangerous. Yeah, I don't know. What do you think, Alexis? Would you say too dangerous to keep on Terra, or?
Okay. Both yes and no. Do you know who would be really good at controlling it?
Who? The Emperor?
Blood Angels.
No, I don't think so, because famously, the whole thing was out of control. If the Emperor can't control it, why would the Blood Angels be able to?
So the only reason that I say this is it sounds an awful lot like either the Sanguinor or Celestine. It sounds like a proto... there's no other way of saying this, but it sounds like a proto-living saint.
It does.
It sounds like they couldn't contain it on Terra because it would be too dangerous. And if it was on Terra, it would go after the Emperor.
Okay, so I think that's your answer. Is it is too dangerous, so that's why they shipped it off the
Yeah.
world.
Now, whatever happened to it, that thing probably still exists. It's
The
probably still the angel.
It's if you want to know more about it, the book is called Inquisitor Conspiracies: Death of an Angel. Good luck finding it. You maybe eBay is your best bet if you're looking for it.
Or you can find a copy of it online, probably.
Maybe. I that to me is doubtful. Like that's one of the things I'm not sure even my Google could find.
And last super chat for now.
Graham Isaac says, give the White Scar jet bikes the Interrex-esque bows. Okay, so the Interrex was a civilization of humans and aliens living together that was encountered by Horus and the Luna Wolves during the Great Crusade. They had centaur-like battle suits and weapons that were energy weapons that would look like a bow that they fired. That would be pretty cool. Honestly, Call could you could theoretically have Call engineer that as part of his renaissance of tech that he's been bringing back to the Imperium,
Yeah.
Although the Interrex were destroyed pretty ruthlessly by Horus and the Lune Wolves.
Yeah, I think that borders on the line of tech heresy that even Call won't touch.
That having been said, it's not impossible. So it's a cool idea. I do like the idea of them having bow-like weapons. I think
We know that
cool.
the bowcaster exists in 40K, so you could have something like that.
Well, the Inquisition uses weapons like that. The Sisters of Silence use weapons like that. So yeah, it's very possible. The
Sisters of Battle have the Castigator crossbow.
That's right. That's true. So there's at least 3 different factions that have something like that.
I think the bows and things like that should probably stick with the Sisters and the Inquisition. I think that's where that kind of stuff belongs. But I could see a Space Marine unit using it, but it would be too similar to like the Eliminators and things like that. I don't know.
That was a huge chunk of super chat.
Oh yeah, we did it.
I love it though. All right, now I think there's one thing we do need to talk about with relation to the Dark Cells, which is one of the men that escaped from the Dark Cells. One of the few,
Cypher?
I think, possible. Well, Cypher is going to get his own episode, but there is a person who got free during the Siege of Terra that we need to talk about.
Ah, good old Foe.
Basilio Foe. That's right. Who is Basilio Foe?
Basilio Foe is the guy that escaped.
Thanks, Alexis.
Basilius Foe is actually a horrifying character. They potentially and successfully developed a toxin / virus that can affect all Astartes and Primarchs and kill all of them. This is okay. So where to start with this? They were a biomechanical engineer from pre-Unification Wars. They were one
Age of Strife era, yeah.
Yeah, they were one of the people afraid of the Emperor who would eventually work for the Emperor, which is interesting.
And they get captured.
They get captured a lot. They did it a few times. They can also body swap. So are they imprisoned? Are they dead? They are a not perpetual, but they can live almost indefinitely unless their body is exploded to death. Normal things that would kill them can still kill them.
Basilio Foe is what Fabius Bile wishes he was.
Yeah, this is like Fabius Bile is up there. Basilius Foe created a toxin that can kill everything. Basilius Foe is such a good toxin creator that the Chaos Gods can't create a toxin. Like Primarchs have created toxins that can kill other Primarchs, but not one that can kill all Primarchs and all Astartes at once, which is crazy. And it's so crazy, in fact, that Malkador had to step in and make sure that it can't spread to non-Astartes.
So if he was active during the Age of Strife, which is before the Unification Wars, and he was active all the way to the end of the Horus Heresy, that's thousands of years. That is a dramatically extended lifespan. That's longer than Commander Dante's been alive.
Yep.
So
And there is the potential that this character is still alive.
Well, yeah, I would never count out this dude because he's a genius. He's absolute.
This would be such a good enemy for like the next setting of Warhammer. Oh my god, I could see an entire campaign, hundreds of Astartes dying to this character. And keep in mind, this guy does have the biomechanical engineering skill to kill Astartes very easily, in fact.
His early reputation was built as a mercenary scientist. He sold genetic monsters and plagues and viruses to all the warring Terran warlords of the era, who were happy to supply him with test subjects in exchange for the edge that his genius would give them on the battlefield. During the early parts of the Unification Wars, Foe was smart enough to realize that the Emperor was not just another warlord. He was someone who was going to inevitably conquer the planet. And Basilio was like, no, I don't want, this is not anything I want to have anything to do with. There was the Custodes, there was the Thunder Warriors, the psychic power of the Emperor, and the Emperor branded Foe as a criminal for all the deaths that his monsters have caused. So Foe was like, I'm out. He gathered his guys and fled Terra by ship, which is very difficult. The Unification Wars was a very difficult time to leave Terra, to just get on a ship and go, but he did. And he tried to escape justice, but he eventually he settled down on this world called Velik Tarn, where he ruled unchallenged for nearly a century, using all of his monstrous creations to maintain control.
Now, we don't know exactly what those monsters included, but we do know that these things were so powerful, it took custodians to kill them. Like, this thing, he was a challenge for the Emperor to beat. That's how powerful this guy was.
Well, not single combat. He's not Urlak Urg or anything, you know. He's a threat.
He does injure Horus.
Well, I'm about to get to that because
spoilers.
No, it's okay. Basilio Foe did face off with Horus. So Velik Tarn, the planet that Foe went to, was eventually discovered and brought into Imperial compliance by an expeditionary fleet, which was led by Horus Lupercal. And so when Horus battled Foe on Velik Tarn, all Foe's monsters and his plagues, they came close to actually defending the entire world and harmed Horus, who was like, okay, I don't like this, which is a hell of an accomplishment because you have a single incredibly old Terran warlord against a full Primarch-led invasion force. And despite this, Foe put up one hell of a fight. That's kind of a big footnote in and of itself, but it wasn't enough. And despite all this, Foe was defeated by Horus and dragged back to Terra in chains as a prisoner.
Also, keep in mind, it was demanded that he was kept alive. Like, Horus would have killed him if he could, if he wanted to kill him, but he had to bring him back alive. It was an order.
For most people, this is where the story would end. You know, you're captured by Horus, you're brought back to Terra in chains, you're done. Congratulations. But not Basilio Foe. This dude, he's serious business. And so he was locked away in a cell for the rest of his unnaturally extended life, however long that may be. But he was put into the dark cells. He's one of the first guys we know of that was put in. Well, not one of the first. He's one of the known people that was locked in the dark cells.
And yes, this is true. He did call Horus an abomination. It's amazing. The conversation that they have is actually really cool. And he's quite the talker. He is, like, in his life, he would be a bard. He was extremely silver-tongued. He was very good at convincing people to fight against each other, disobey direct orders from Malcador and the Emperor himself. And he's convinced people like, are you sure? Are you sure? Did you check the fine print? Are you sure? Double check that. Not fully signed. How do you know this is from the Emperor? And they would be like, hold on, put him back in the cell until we can get this confirmed.
So he stayed in those dark cells until the Horus Heresy broke out. And during the Siege of Terra, the desperate Imperial defenders were like, okay, let's get anything we can get, any possible weapon, no matter how monstrous it might be. And Foe was interviewed by Euphrates Keeler. Now, Alexis, Euphrates Keeler is one of your favorite characters.
Yes, she is.
Please tell us who is Euphrates Keeler and why is this interview important?
Euphrates Keeler, known as the mother of the Primarchs, is essentially.
Well, is that Erda?
Oh yeah, that is Erda. Euphrates Keeler is the living saint. Sorry,
right. She's the first. She's the one of the first living saints, if you will. She's definitely kind of powered by faith. We know that.
Yeah. She is beloved by almost everyone. Even Chaos Space Marines take heed on attacking her.
She was a former remembrancer who went out with the Crusade fleets. She returned to Terra alongside Garrow, didn't she?
Nathaniel Garrow, convinced to join the Imperial Creed, showed him literal miracles, and he was bound to her, and he was so protective of her that he disobeyed Malcador the Sigillite.
Are you sure you're not conflating him with Loken?
No, Garrow did betray Malcador at the end to protect her and bring her back to the palace. Granted, Malcador's final order to Garrow, which he said was your final order, was to bring her back to the palace because it is the safest place for her. But she is super important. She essentially is a living saint.
She's one of the first examples of a person wielding the power of faith in 40K, and she did it during the heresy while the Emperor was still alive, while still active doing his things. She basically was one of the first people to read the Lectitio Divinatus. She got really into it, basically, and she was no longer a remembrancer at that point. She basically became kind of a figure of figure of faith, a figure of spiritual focus. Anyway, so she interviews Foe, and this is where he tells her, he says, I could make a virus that is capable of killing every Space Marine and all of the Primarchs all at once. That's where that comes from, is that conversation that they had.
Apparently, he's been thinking about this the hundreds, if not, the dozens of years or however long he was in the prisons for. He's been thinking about it for every single day on how to destroy them because he had knowledge on how they were built. Because he might have been somebody that helped in it, but he's not credited, mind you. But he's such a good bioengineer that he's figured out the Primarchs he figured out the Primarchs. Like, that's crazy in itself.
Now, so he tells Euphrates Keeler, hey, I can make a virus that will kill all the Space Marines and the Primarchs. This is during the Siege of Terra, when everyone on Terra is under threat of being destroyed by Primarchs, the Space Marines. So Euphrates Keeler and the Custodes and the Imperial agents were like, yeah, okay, why don't you give that a shot? And they gave him laboratory access and equipment, which was, to me, when I read this, I was like, oh, why? Oh God, why? Oh God. Like, talk about weapon of last resort, guys.
Hey, do you remember Isvan? This will make it look like nothing.
Well, yeah, Jesus. Foe then was taken to, he started out in the Blackstone prison, so this is part of the book Saturnine. And then he was relocated to the Tower of the Sigillites, which is Malcador's home. And then he got access to even more records and equipment and made very rapid progress on his virus weapon. And according to Saturnine, this virus would kill Astartes both on a physical level and on a soul level, which made it theoretically lethal even against demonically corrupted or Primarch level threats.
Now, one of the scarier bits of this is that I would normally chalk this up to, he's saying all of this, but can he actually do it? Malcador went through his work and was like, yes, this will work. Like, Malcador backed him. That's what's huge about this.
If you want to know more about Basilio Foe, you should read Saturnine, Mortis, Warhawk, the End and the Death books, and there is a citation in Codex Inquisition. So check those things out. So he is not just a novel character; he's in the codexes too.
So he's an actual real character.
He's got a higher canon status than many people we talk about.
Yeah.
the most recent confirmed lore about Foe is his ultimate fate was essentially unresolved. It's unclear whether he was locked away again after the siege, whether his weapon was destroyed, whether the virus still exists somewhere. It's probably a contingency in the arsenal of the Custodes or the Inquisition. One of those two probably has it, I'm willing to say. If it was in the Tower of the Sigillite, the Inquisition might have been the first ones to get to it. I'm thinking, but
Yeah, it might be
either
on
way.
Saturn then.
Well, I mean, the last place we knew he was the Tower of the Sigillite. So,
Yep.
um,
Now, one of the things is one of the people that came to kill him, well, they didn't come to kill him, they ran into him, was a Night Lord. Which is crazy to think about. A Night Lord who knew what they were because the Chaos Gods were just like, well, his demonic pact, the demon that was in that Night Lord was like, hey, you need to kill that guy. That guy knows secrets and could actually end all of us. And so the Night Lord went after him, killed him maybe, but apparently Foe can body swap. He created a duplicate of himself and swapped his mind into it. And the thing that was killed was his old body. And since then, he's either been captured, killed, or something else happened to them.
I think he was likely put into the Dark Cells. If you were to go find like one of the Dark Cells, I think you might find him inside of it. Now it's a little unclear. Like the novels that have mentioned him, it's kind of unclear whether he was in the Blackstone prison or whether he was in the Dark Cells. So some of this is speculative. I want to be really clear. Like I was unable to fully confirm whether or not he was in the Dark Cells, but I strongly believe that he is.
I do like that he was a radical inquisitor for a bit and started Xanthianism.
Oh, Xanthites! Oh my God,
Yep.
Xanthites! Oh, wild.
Until eventually he was captured or burned at the stake. Because again, it's they burned his body at the stake, okay? But this is a character who outsmarted custodians, outsmarted Malkador the Sigillite, outsmarted an entire room filled with Astartes, outsmarted a demonically possessed Night Lord. This isn't a character that's just going to die.
Put up a heck of a fight against Horus, not for nothing, you know.
Yeah, put up a fight against Horus. To think that the Inquisition is going to take him in and burn him, they probably, speculation, the actual lore does state that he was taken and burned. But with a character this powerful, more than likely what they burned was a body, a duplicate that he made, and the real body was probably taken to Terra and is probably still working, which is the scary thing because you never stop thinking. And if you're in a cell for thousands of years, tens of thousands of years in this case, you're probably cooking up something far worse than the death of all Astartes and all Primarchs. You're probably cooking up the death of everything. Or he might be working on a way to kill the Tyranids.
That seems a little too altruistic for Basilia.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't think so.
There is a fan theory about that.
He's a very mysterious dude. He's kind of associated with the Dark Cells. I feel like if he's anywhere, he's in the Dark Cells, but I don't know. It was worth mentioning. Like that's a character that's related to this that is very much like could be involved. Dynaman has the super chat. Says random future stream idea: rate my custom chapter or rate my custom guard regiment. Everyone gets 500 or 1,000 words to describe it, and you go through people's ideas, provide potential ideas and feedback. That's a good idea. The only concern I have is like making sure we have enough entries to do it.
Yeah, we would need at least 20 plus entries.
So I'll tell you what. If you would like to do this, and I'm all for it. If we can get a thread started in the 40K forum on our Discord, which I will put a link to. Discord. If we can get a thread started and we can get enough entries, if we can get 20 of you guys to throw in 500 words about your custom guard, or let's say either or custom chapter or custom guard regiment.
Actually, just custom in general, like your custom. Like we can even talk about Eldari or anything.
Custom force, let's say.
Yeah, your custom army.
put that in there, and if we hit 20 entries, we will absolutely do this as an episode. I think that'd be a lot of fun. I don't think I wouldn't do it as a tier list because that would be cruel. But I would love a review.
Sucks, good, garbage, terrible.
As some sort of review and giving feedback and ideas on. I think that is a good idea.
Yeah, that would probably be a bonus stream, if not something that a special that we do.
So rock and roll. Let's do it. Okay.
All right.
That was the big one, was Basilia Foe, and I love that one. Would you like to talk about some of the fan theories?
All right, let's go. Well, let's talk fan theories.
Did you have something else you wanted to get into?
No, not yet. I do want to talk about some of the more canon ones and have us speculate about them a bit in just a moment. Let's talk about those fan theories first.
All right. The most popular and most discussed fan theory is that Subject 11 is in fact the 11th Lost Primarch.
I love this. And it is almost directly hinted at that it is. Because it's, again, Subject 11. Mm-hmm. And yeah, I personally believe it. I like the idea that that Subject 11 is the 11th Primarch that has gone insane. Probably broken due to Hrud.
Well, the theories are that it could be a clone or a partial recreation, or the actual Primarch driven insane and either physically or mentally broken. And a lot of these theories tie into something we discussed on our last episode, with the Rangdan Xenocides.
Yes, that's where I think he did go insane.
Well, they say it's very that was such a brutal conflict that if a Primarch were to be mentally broken or physically wounded to the point where they couldn't function anymore, then that is a very likely place to point to and say that it may have happened here.
Yeah.
So I'm very leery about tying anything into the Hrud because they are such a
But it's your favorite topic.
God, dear Lord, no. God, just stop. Stop it.
It's your favorite alien race.
No, they're definitely not.
No, I get you. Although, if they are going to roll the Hrud back into the lore, hear me out. They have to do it where they have that time manipulation thing, and just have the Necrons obliterate them, and then go back in time so the Hrud can't run in time away from them, and fight them through time until it comes back, and then have like the Chronomancers lock that time span so they are gone forever, so they can never go back and fight them again.
Time travel would be a bad thing to put into 40K as a staple, as something you occasionally hear of as a really weird moment or event that occurs on the fringe.
Casually mentioned that they erased Hrud from the times. Yeah, I'd be okay with that. Give us that one paragraph thing that just obliterates the lore as we know it. So we need a rundown of the. God damn it!
I knew you'd like that one.
No, I was trying to ignore that.
Mornington Crescent asks, is it Subject 11 or Subject 11, which would also be a missing Primarch, because it's the 2nd and the 11th Legion. This is specifically XI in the Roman numerals, which would be 11.
Yeah.
But I'm glad you wanted to bring that up.
I am still in the mindset that Lee 2, Limited Edition 2, should have been the 2nd Primarch. And it should have been that Lee 2, it's never stated that he's a Primarch, but we do know that he's a Proto-Space Marine. That's the actual canon lore. But it would have been so much better if Lee 2 was the 2nd Primarch and they just went with their mom.
All right, so there's another piece of lore we know about this. There's in-universe text that says the prisoners in the Dark Cells, some of them cannot be destroyed.
Yep.
Which would suggest that they're in some way immortal, which they could be perpetuals. Perpetuals are nearly unkillable humans who can reincarnate or regenerate. Typically, reincarnate's a weird word. They don't reincarnate really. They just get better typically, but they do kind of die and then get better. So it is kind of like reincarnation. I don't know.
And if they die in a void or their body's completely destroyed, they're reborn on their planet.
It's weird.
Are perpetuals only human?
As far as we're aware.
Because this is an Eldred, a perpetual.
I don't think so.
Huh. Well,
as far as I'm aware, keep in mind, perpetuals are part of the lore that only exists in the novels, and they're pretty much only in like the Dan Abnett novels, which puts them in a really kind of strange canon space.
Yeah,
But
the Abnett verse or
there's
the
also,
Daniverse.
it could also be a Satan shard. The Satan, of course, are these star gods that are, as far as the lore tells us, cannot be destroyed. They can only be broken up into shards, which is what happened to them during the war in heaven, Alexis.
Oh, God damn it. Correction, they did kill a god, and it caused them to have the flare virus.
Which is speculated that is just the Satan like surviving as bacteria.
Yeah.
So did they actually destroy it? We're not entirely sure.
Yeah.
So it could be a Satan shard. Is also one of the things that could be in the Dark Cells.
As weird as it is, I don't like the idea that it's the Satan shard. I know this is a hot take, but I think that is a bit too kind of lame. And I don't mean to sound mean or anything, but we already got a Satan shard on Mars. If we had another one on Earth, it would be like, okay, so is there one on Saturn too at this point? I like the idea that it's a man of iron, or it's something like the Votan's like intelligence, the artificial intelligence, or like a excendio battle automata that can't be killed, like a self-replicating automata that can only be contained, and if you try to destroy it, it'll adapt like Doomsday, but as a
Yeah.
living Iron Man.
So I actually came up with a list of things that could have come from the Age of Strife.
All right,
But
let's
but,
hear
I,
it.
but before I get into that, I will just say that the artifacts that are talked about, like the Lament of Unreason, the Black Periapt of Rytheniel, these are things that sound like relics from the Dark Age technology. They
Yes.
sound like the super science that humanity has since lost and now fears. So maybe them or the Vexen Cage even could be.
I think one of my favorite things is if you watch the Hammer and Bolter episode about the Mechanicus, the girl walking around, the engine seer walking around with her Castellan robot, and no, it's not a Castellan. Is it a Castellan?
Is it big and like has a round head? Then it's Castellan.
Yes, that's a Castellan. Okay, but the Castellan's walking around, and the Castellan eventually gets basically destroyed. And she finds a magic SNES cartridge, and she like plugs it into it, and it auto heals the entire machine, fixes it perfectly. And it's like, if you just brought that to Terra, you could have fixed the Golden Throne, you idiot.
That's not necessarily how it works, though.
No, but it repaired the machine perfectly as if it was brand new in the
Right.
animation.
But
we don't know if that would have worked on the Golden Throne.
That is a thing the Mechanicus do called cyber theurgy.
Yeah.
I want to do some episodes on the Mechanicus. They are on the list of topics to cover because there's so much to cover about the Mechanicus.
Yeah.
But cyber theurgy is a really interesting thing that they do which is kind of like sufficiently advanced technology to be basically magic. But it's worth noting that if something like cyber theurgy could have repaired the Golden Throne, we'd have known that a long time ago.
No, but this is a relic she picks up, a STC that she picks up.
So STCs, we know what STCs are, they are from the Dark Age technology. So maybe.
And instead of bringing it back with her, it's a spark of humanity that she has that she wants to bring her friend back, and so she uses it on that, and she justifies it by saying, "I need you around so that I can search for more archaeotech." Big brain. It's totally fine. The pursuit of knowledge is more important. Yeah. And it's like, no, you felt bad that your friend died and you found a way to revive him.
Like, well, that's how tech priests do it. They logic their way through their feelings.
Yep.
So anyway, the point is, I think the Dark Age technology stuff could be some of those. The Lament of Unreason sounds like a virus, some sort of like replicating virus is what it sounds like to me, if I were to speculate. All right, now you were saying what were
what are the other
examples?
Fan theories?
No, you want to hear about the Age of Strife ideas?
Oh, there goes Kovu.
The ones that I brought up.
Yes.
So Age of Strife, this is pre-Unification Wars. It's called Old Knights, It's a dark age. It's where the dark age technology kind of comes from. Warp storms had cut off Terra from the stars. There were all kinds of AI uprisings and demonic incursions, psychomutations running unchecked. So if you were to have things in the Dark Cells from this era, you could have like maybe one of the earliest versions of the demons, like the Neverborn, the Ruin Storm, like before the Ruin Storm demons even. You could have like some sort of ancient rogue psyker cults before the Unification Wars that tried to summon some kind of being from the warp and managed to do it. And that might be in the Dark Cells. Or a dormant seed fragments of the Men of Iron, like a command intelligence, like a war games, the Whopper, right? Like
Yeah.
the machine, something like that, and kept for study rather than being destroyed. Because the Emperor was interested in studying technology, and we have in our last episode on Wednesday, we covered big mysteries, and we talked about the Void Dragon. So possibly that.
You know what one of my theories is?
Okay.
So do you have your tinfoil hat under your hat?
I will metaphorically put on my tinfoil hat.
Okay. Are you ready for this?
Okay.
So, wild speculation, but there is lore to suggest that the Titans, the Titan legions, were originally AI machines. Okay? Now, that's the first tinfoil hat you need. The second is that all of the guts and the brain was torn out to make room for the human pilots in it. And these machines were far too powerful to just give up. They were far too important. They meant far too much to the Imperium to just give up. The god machines were too important. So what I think is that they took that, essentially the brain, the AI-controlled brain, and kept that sealed. I think that the Men of Iron, one of the things that they was the Titans. And that's why there were so many of them, because they figured out scrap code was a way to kill them. That's huge speculation, though, mind you. Huge speculation, like the biggest of speculation.
Well, here's connecting to that though. There is a mention of the Dark Cells in Codex Imperial Fists back in 8th edition.
Okay.
Which says that technology from the Dark Cells allowed the Imperial Fist to restore the phalanx when it was damaged. Okay.
Ooh.
Very brief throwaway detail, all right? But if you had something that could repair the phalanx, and the phalanx is how do I say this? An enormous ancient battle barge flagship space station. It's the home of the Imperial Fist chapters. It's a really, really, really big space station that can travel through the warp. It's actually a ship too. It's the largest and possibly most heavily armed warship in the Imperium. So when this thing was damaged, it was damaged twice. It was damaged at the Siege of Terra, and it was also damaged at the Fall of Cadia. So one of the fan theories is that possibly some sort of self-replicating nanomachine swarm or some kind of Men of Iron artifact or some kind of AI device may have been involved in the repair of the phalanx, because we know that it was connected to the Dark Cells.
For those of you wondering what the phalanx looks like,
there it is.
Now, I want to point this out just to show you how big this thing is. Battle barges dock here.
Mm-hmm.
Like, that's how massive this space station is. This space station / spaceship is so immense that it can't go any closer to Terra because it will throw off Terra's like fucking gravity and shit. It's really cool. I love it.
Yeah, it's not quite the Death Star, but it's pretty big.
It is definitely big, but it doesn't have like a Death Star laser though. It needs one of those. Another
thing that can't be destroyed is Lucius the Eternal. So maybe he's one of the things that in the past has been kept in the Dark Cells. That's a possibility. Although I'm not sure about that, because Lucius definitely is out and about. So
yeah.
Though it would make sense also that there's maybe some traitor legionnaires down there. Probably, again, speculative, but if you had captured a whole bunch of Sons of Horus at the end of the Siege of Terra, Malcador's the kind of guy who would definitely make sure some of those guys were kept around for questioning.
Yes.
and stasis fields exist. And the Dark Cells would be a really great place to put a totally insane Son of Horus Traitor Space Marine from the Siege of Terra that you're keeping around just in case you ever need to know like some specific fucking details about the way that they operate. Because the Black Legion is the thing, and that's the remnants of the Sons of Horus, along with a lot of other Chaos Warbands.
We also know that there are greater demons locked in there. So somehow they are separating the greater demons from the warp. Now, the scary thing is there are creatures in there that got out that didn't get out via warp. They got out via something horrific pulling them out of the cells when the Great Rift happened.
Yeah, we know that we found a bunch of dead Shadow Keepers down there. So somebody either fought their way in and let them out, or they broke out and killed the Shadow Keepers on their way. But in either case, there are a whole bunch of them escaped for sure. Now, when you said it's the SCP program, you're not entirely being facetious, because that is how the fan community kind of sees the Dark Cells. They are
it really is, though.
They're the vault of things too weird to explain, and it does lean into that whole intentional narrative ambiguity that Games Workshop maintains around a lot of its lore. So it's, for me, I love the idea of it at being the SCP Foundation, basically, of 40K. I kind of dig it.
Mm-hmm. I love the idea that they have like entire rooms that are not meant to be there, and the whole thing is just an illusion, and they just have it behind like locks and everything, and they have it warded and everything, and they're just like, don't go in there, it's spooky. Or they have the entirety of the back rooms just sealed in one room, which is also kind of spooky.
Now, I'm about to talk about 3 different theories of why the Dark Cells exist, what they're for.
Okay.
And I was thinking I could put up a poll and let the Lore Seekers vote on it, so that at the end we can tell everybody what the community believes is the right answer.
Okay. All right. I like it.
So if that's something that you think would be fun, I can get started.
I definitely like that. I like that as an idea. That sounds like a really cool idea.
Icevein says that it's also where possible Old Ones technology or artifacts could be. So yeah, that's not a terrible thought, is that there could be some Old One stuff in there. I have a big long list of like here's what I think could be in there.
I can't wait to hear this list. I'm excited about this list because I have a couple of theories myself.
Okay. Well, why don't you do you want to read some super chats while I build the poll, or do you want to talk about?
I will do the super chatting.
Awesome.
Okay, so Sebastian Miller says, tinfoil hat time. One of the lost Primarchs is a Zote, but the Emperor is too embarrassed and wanted to erase the memory of it. All right. Okay. So there are things in 40K called flesh shapers. And Ross, you know about these things because I fucking hate them. Because you guys, I'm blaming you specifically, even though you didn't write this, but it's your fault. Mm-hmm. In the Black Crusade role-playing game, there's a thing called a flesh shaper, and a flesh shaper can change your shape into anything, and it's horrific. It breaks your bones. It's a Slanesh spell, and the more you resist, the stronger the spell becomes, which is super funny. The problem is that the whole goddamn thing is way too overbroken. It is so ungodly broken that I ban it from all of my games, because it is just insanely poorly worded, and I blame Ross specifically for this, even though he had no input on it and is in no way, shape, or form actually connected to it. But there is a chance that a flesh shaper got to one of the Primarchs and heavily mutated them to the point where the Emperor was just like, let's put that in the no square and never talk about it again. So that's not out of the question. That now maybe turning into a Zote is a little bit far-fetched, but because Zotes are a actual species in Warhammer and are typically merchants, which is really cool.
Sebastian Muller also hit on one of the possible reasons for the Dark Cells, which I will go ahead and start the poll now. The possible things that the Dark Cells is, one is a collection of weapons of last resort, and I will expand on this. Another one is the Emperor's shameful failures, which Sebastian Miller was talking about just now. is that the dark cells could in fact be where he puts all of his most shameful failures. And the third idea is that it's a some kind of warp prison that exists between dimensions, because a lot of the things that are in there are powered by or natives of the warp, like the greater demons that we discussed earlier. And it's really difficult to think of that place, the dark cells, as being fully in real space if there are greater demons just like hanging out in the cells. So I guess I will go ahead and read another super chat because we have a couple more here. We have one from Ricky Chapman who says, Faux, Bile, and Kugoth interacting would be awesome. Wow, that would be wild, because all three of those guys are good at making viruses, and putting them all together in the same room would be absolutely insane.
I honestly thought that this question was going to be a fuck, marry, and kill.
Nestor Vitumbra. Thank you, Nestor Vitumbra. He says the last Nokia 3310 is in the dark cells.
It also that Game Boy that got bombed. That's still playing Tetris.
The Emperor knew that if a corrupt Majos reverse engineered the Nokia 3310, he could build indestructible battle automata.
Oh my god.
Nokias are very famously super full. So before we vote on this ourselves, Alexis, I was going to go through these and kind of explain them. But if you want to talk about something else, go ahead.
Just really quickly, there is one thing that I know that the Emperor didn't keep on Terra. So these are weapons that are extremely dangerous, but they're apparently not dangerous enough, or they're too dangerous to keep on Terra.
The Exindios?
And that is the Exindio battle automata,
right?
Which during the heresy were deployed by the
Dark Angels, who are entrusted with all kinds of weapons that other chapters do not get to touch.
Yep. Now, the Exindios are such a dangerous weapon because they are potentially men of iron.
They are almost certainly some form of abominable intelligence.
Now, we can't say that they are men of iron, but we do know that they are some sort of abominable intelligence. It is like a 99.98% that it's probably the men of iron. But these things are so dangerous to themselves, their allies, and everything around them that typically Dark Angels just drop them in a pod way ahead of their force, and they just rush into enemy lines and destroy things. And then at the end of the battle, if they can't capture it, they just blow it up.
Yeah, they have a kill switch. They have a kill switch they can activate to blow it up.
Now, the Exindio battle automata are an extremely dangerous weapon that use a lot of radiation style weapons that the AdMech uses, but on a much more unstable platform. This thing is basically a super dreadnought that's running around killing everything in sight. And it is intelligent enough to learn and think on its own. So that wasn't kept on Terra. That was given to the Dark Angels. Now, were all of them given to the Dark Angels? Maybe. More than likely, but we don't know. I can see some of the more extreme variants of them kept on Terra for safekeeping, but a lot of them being put to the Dark Angels also makes a lot of sense. That's just my theory about what's actually in the vaults.
Well, I mean, the first one on my list is that it's actually a weapons cache. It's where the weapons of last resort are kept.
Yes, that makes sense.
This is a fan theory as well, but it's basically that it frames the idea that the dark cells is an armory. This is where you keep your civilization-ending weapons, and this is based in precedent from the stuff he gave to Lionel Johnson, for example.
I guess I could part with one of my doomsday weapons.
So the Exindio did have multiple radiation weapons. It had IRAD cleansers. It had automatic pulse atomantic, which is definitely it's radioactive. Pulse cannons and nerve induction shredders.
I love those.
Which is pretty. That's just all kinds of weird exotic stuff. So if Vulcan ever built some sort of device capable of destroying Terra, that might be down there. maybe it that craves or the Vexen Cage, maybe those aren't accidents. Maybe those aren't captured threats. Maybe those are deliberately preserved doomsday weapons. Kept like a nuclear silo keeps the warheads nobody wants to use, but nobody dares to dismantle.
Now, we do know that there are demons that are unaligned to the chaos powers that are extremely strong that could also be potentially in there.
Hmm.
There's the demon that Greyfax faced, where she needed a whole squad of Terminators to help her beat it. So there are greater demons. I think that one was supposed to be like Baba Yaga, technically. It was a
Hmm.
reference to Baba Yaga. But I believe that unaligned superpowers are in there. Potentially even the gaseous cloud species that made the Catan or were the Catan are kept within the vaults themselves. Because as far as we know, the Necrons didn't contact all of the space nimble cloud creatures that ate suns.
We are firmly in tinfoil hat X-Files territory at this point. But yes,
Yes.
it's technically possible, I assume.
There's
Uh,
also things like more sleep, roving stars and suns that cause chaos effects that the Imperium could have trapped within the cells themselves.
I mean, that's really stretching like the capability of even Dark Age technology to be able to do. But
I mean, if you never know, we're way out there right now.
because that's something else we know Eldari can do, but I don't know. I mean, that's really I don't know.
Now, one weapon that I would put in there is a cache of ammunition that shoots black holes out of Nova cannons.
Right from the Speranza.
Yes, because we do know that the Imperium has technology that can shoot hyper condensed molecules that creates a suction of it creates a black hole. And they shoot a black hole out of a Nova cannon. And it's the scariest death of a planet you could ever imagine because you're just spaghettyified, which is a hilarious term for such a monstrous death. And then to go even further than that, the AdMech have an ability to shoot a Radstorm black hole. So it's the black hole missile, but with a radiation storm around it. We made it more deadly. So now you're gonna die of super cancer before you get spaghettyified.
I love spaghettified as a word.
I love it too.
Well, some of the craziest weapons that we know of that the Imperium has is like the conversion beamer,
Yep.
which
But
is
that one's still used.
I know, but
Yeah.
it's crazy because it converts matter into antimatter, which
Yep.
holy shit, right? There's the disintegration weapons, which
Yep.
we know were used a lot by the Saturnine Terminators and Dreadnoughts during Heresy. There's also, I mean, there's vortex weapons that actually open up holes to the warp.
Vortex grenades and shit like
If
that.
you had some sort of weird weapon that fired the bodies of pariahs or blanks, like a psychic null bomb of some kind, that would be down there.
Yeah, I could see
So
that.
it's pretty weird. All right, so the second theory is that the Dark Souls are actually a burial ground for where the Emperor puts all of his worst failures and all the things that he finds shameful, like a private mausoleum for his greatest personal mistakes. He might have a shrine in there to Urda, for example, or Astarte.
Urda
Uh,
might also be in there
I
because she
mean,
is a perpetual. She probably came back,
it would make
but
sense. And this is also where we could get the Lost Primarchs. Like Subject 11 is a guide stone towards this idea where the prison is not really so much about being a prison, but more of like a hidden family crypt. Is where because the Emperor's ambition to perfect humanity produced a lot of casualties, and he made a lot of mistakes, and he's described his Games Workshop as profoundly flawed. So I imagine he'd be very ashamed of stuff that he's done, right?
Yep.
And stuff that he doesn't want to ever publicly acknowledge might be down there, including a Primarch that got broken beyond saving. or a Legion project that gone catastrophically wrong, or some kind of early attempt to engineer the Custodes or the Astartes that had to be buried rather than destroyed. Because we don't know what happened before the Custodes.
The last few Thunder Warriors might be in there.
I mean, maybe.
All the abominations from the Unification Wars might be in there.
So in this idea, though, the Dark Cells are not about protecting anything or strategic value. It's about guilt.
Yeah.
So I think that's why I brought that one up.
I really like that one because I love that the idea that the Emperor can't destroy the things that he himself has created, because in his own mind, everything that he made is perfect because he's a massive nihilist. But also
narcissist, maybe.
He also just can't bring himself to go down there himself. Because as far as we know, he doesn't go down there.
Well, he didn't back when he was mobile.
Yeah.
We did, at least, again, as far this is a lot. There's very little known about the Dark Cells. We are speculating, but according to what we know, the Emperor did not visit very often.
Yeah.
Didn't mean he didn't. Doesn't mean Games Workshop can't publish a book tomorrow that says, "Hey, he went there a lot." We're just saying, as what we know right now, July 25th, 2026. That is not the case.
The big book of what is canon in 40K is in there.
The third theory is that the prison is actually not just a prison, but a place in between reality and the warp. Because like I said, there's greater demons down there. There's entities that exist simultaneously in real space and the immaterium.
Yeah, they're somehow trapped there.
So that could mean that the Dark Cells are some sort of seam between the two, where reality's rules become unstable.
Now, here's a crazy out there. Hear me out. Those demons are there by choice. I have had this theory for the longest time.
Okay, please explain.
So, there are a total of 8 greater demons that we know that are working for the Imperium, in big quotes, okay? The 4 that are within the Emperor's domain, which is within the golden light of the Astronomicon, they can't be in there. Somehow they're there. And that is by the will of the Emperor. Maybe. But how are they there is one of my biggest questions. I think that they are there because maybe, big maybe, they choose to be there. The other ones in the cells, we know that the rip across the reality was strong enough to rip open some of those cells, but they didn't hit the 4 demons, which you would think, because realistically, the demons are an extension of the god that they are a part of. It's a bit of the god's power that makes the demon, or sometimes. Okay, I have to say sometimes because it is demons, and the writing on demons is very inconsistent. But my big tinfoil hat theory is that the demons that are training these custodians enjoy it. They want to stay there. They want to torment those custodians. And the ones that break, because there's going to be ones that fail, they get the enjoyment out of. And that's what they want to do. And they choose to stay there. And it might be a way of spying on the Emperor himself. Like, there are 8 demons, 4 within the Emperor's domain, 4 on Terra. I mean, that's something the Mask can't do. That's something the Changeling can't do. I don't know. That sounds like pretty good spy work to me.
This idea hurts my brain. Okay,
yeah, but the idea is that they are there. They are trapped, but they are trapped by choice.
Okay, so you're not wrong, right? It is described that there are demons within the Emperor's domain. But that is part of the warp, and the warp is a place of metaphor and ideas, and you might just imagine a demon, and that might be enough to give you like the presence of something like a demon, even if I don't know. Let's just say it's very very wibbly wobbly as far as that goes. But you're not wrong. Okay. And there's probably reasons that the Chaos Gods might not mind that there are agents of their own agendas for whatever, that's a strong word, because the ruinous powers of 40K are not necessarily beings that have agendas, but it's something that it makes a certain amount of sense from a certain point of view, like the Obi-Wan aspect here. I don't know. It's also entirely possible because we know the Emperor is the anathema to chaos, right? He is their opposite number.
Yeah.
Right. So it's not out of the question that he could just design cells to hold greater demons. He could just do that because he's just that crazy, just that good. He's not a good guy, to be clear. The Emperor,
he's just definitely not a good guy.
Yeah. So maybe I don't know. That's a pretty wild idea. That's a wild idea. But the idea of this warp prison thing, though, the things that are in the dark cells are described as part human, part substrate, existing in the two layers simultaneously. And it suggests that some of the inmates, if you want to call them that, are not fully material. And destroying them might rupture the barrier between dimensions rather than actually eliminate the threat.
Yeah.
So maybe in this framing, right, the Emperor's motive for building the dark cells is not for punishment, it's not for containment, it's not for holding a bunch of weapons, it's not for guilt. It's to prevent breaches in reality. It's to prevent warp storms or demonic incursions from happening. Patching over the cracks in between reality and the warp that may have existed on Terra for a very long time. Because we know there is a webway portal under in the Emperor's throne room. We know that, right? We know that that's where that is a thing, and we know it existed there long before the Emperor arrived.
Yeah.
This also might relate to the old ones, though, because the old ones were super powerful in the warp and had things that could breach well, at least we know the Eldari, who are like the most direct inheritors of the old one's stuff, that can do that.
My other theory is that the Emperor has a bunch of old Eldar and Necron tech that they have captured from each other and kept with the Imperium as a mutual ground.
So we know that the complex requires psychic wards and sanctic circles, and that the Custodes find the whole thing very unsettling. That's one of the... Go ahead.
One of the more confusing parts is that there are symbols down there that contain these creatures, but the Custodians are, for the most part, almost entirely atheistic. But there are sigils that capture demons.
You know what we need to do is we need to have a let's build. Let's build a prisoner of the dark cells.
I mean, we could do that, but I mean, I'm not opposed to that.
I'm not either. I think the lore seekers would appreciate that one. Now, we do know that some of the Shadow Keepers also left to fight the War of the Beast against the Orc War Moons.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, the Attack Moons make another appearance.
No, good. Yay.
So possibly there's some Orc tech in there, like from Urlak Urg, possibly from Olinor.
They took the entire Attack Moon and just put it in the closet.
God, I don't think so. But
I mean, it wouldn't be out of the question for the Emperor to develop a similar tech to a Tezzeret Vault.
No, Dark Age technology could do that kind of stuff.
Yeah, like I could definitely see him, like what we see as just like prison room, could actually be like an almost infinite dimension beyond that. And it might be things that have broken through those dimensions that he is trying to keep contained, like things from the Shadow Realm, which sounds like I'm talking about Yu-Gi-Oh, but is an actual thing. Because the Shadow Realm exists and it's in Kimura. And it's attached to Kimura. It's leaking into Kimura.
We have an episode on the Dark Eldar, the Drukhari Mandrakes where we discuss all of that and the Shadow Realm that does exist in Cormorant. So go check that out. There are definitely different dimensions than just the real space and the warp are the two biggest, as far as we know, dimensions in 40K. But there are more. The webway is technically its own dimension, and there are things outside of that. There's the pocket dimensions created by the Necrons. There's even one just for the flayers of the Necrons.
The Flayer realm.
But let's before we talk, I do want to talk about the guy who escaped, which is Cypher, and we need to get into that whole thing. But
we do have one super chat.
Okay. Ice Veins, thank you so much, Ice Veins. He says, a part of the Emperor that was corrupted, either when he made the deal with Chaos or after his fight with Horus, being kept in the cells would be horrific. Possibly another reason for the Golden Throne. Yeah. A part of the Emperor himself being locked away would be fascinating. That's a really good story idea.
That's actually a sick idea.
Yeah.
He could have actually put his humanity in the cell too.
Right? Maybe he sealed it away. Maybe he knew he would need it someday, or figured he might need it someday.
Yeah. Oh, I like that.
So I'm going to end the poll in about 30 seconds. Get your votes in, and then we'll chat about it. But it looks like right now the Emperor's Shameful Failures is the one leading.
I like this comment.
The Dark Cells contains the last copy of Xenology, preventing it from affecting the rest of the canon. Mr. October, that's excellent. Thank you so much.
That's amazing. The last metal mini of GW.
The last metal model. Yeah, the what was that resin called? The Finecast.
Oh, Finecast.
Yeah, all the Finecast models are in there.
Yep.
All right, so the poll, the Lore Seekers have spoken, and half of you, 50%, said it. The purpose of the Dark Cells is most likely the Emperor's most shameful failures. So very cool.
I like that. I really like that.
Oh boy! So now we get to talk about Cypher.
Lord of the Fallen.
Lord of the Fallen. Lord of the Fallen is the name of the episode, the name of the novel.
Yep.
Okay.
All right. This is a good one.
Yeah.
The Dark Cells contain that one. Fucking XCOM. I hate XCOM. I love XCOM.
XCOM is one of my favorite games of all time. I have tons of XCOM shirts, so big fan. If anybody out there works for Firaxis, get in touch with me because I would love to write on XCOM. All right, so Cypher. Who is Cypher, Alexis?
Cypher is a Dark Angel character from the Horus Heresy to 40K, who might be one character, might be many, might be a title, might not be. But Cypher is most notable for having 2 pistols, one plasma, one normal. I say normal, both of them are Artificer. Yeah, both of them are Artificer versions of their respected guns. He also carries around the broken blade of Lionel Johnson on his back. He wants to present that to the Emperor to forgive all of the fallen or kill the Emperor himself with it. Really depends how you want to read it.
According to lore, it's to kill the Emperor.
Yes. So it's either to gain forgiveness or kill the Emperor. Depending.
Or kill the Emperor and therefore gain forgiveness.
Yes. Cypher was the only person the only surviving witness of the fight between Luther and Lion. He saw what happened to both of them.
And then other than the Lion himself and Luther.
Well, yeah.
All 3 of those people are alive, to be clear.
Yes.
But yeah.
He's the only
other than witness. Other than Luther and the Lion, he's the only one who knows what really happened.
Yes. He was pulled into the warp. He somehow travels around the galaxy. It's theorized that he either uses the webway or he uses the forest. We're not sure which one he's actually using, though it is more suggested that he uses the webway than anything else. Because he figured out the webway in a couple of the source books.
Briefly,
which is weird.
Can you briefly tell us what the forest is?
The forest is possibly the warp, possibly another dimension where you can travel around the galaxy and arrive where you're needed. It sounds an awful lot like the Emperor's Domain.
Lionel Johnson famously uses it in the book Son of the Forest.
Yeah. It's a dimension where he talks with an old person.
Who we think is the Emperor.
And weirdly enough, the Emperor never mentions the Watchers in the Dark with them.
The Watchers in the Dark are these strange little robed figures. You'll see them on a lot of Dark Angel minis. They exist on the Rock, which is the home of the Dark Angels chapter, the Fortress Monastery. We have a whole episode on the Rock. Go check it out if you'd like to know more.
Not Dwayne Johnson.
Right.
Something way more interesting.
Not even Gorrock, which is from Horror Fantasy. He's a lizard man. He's awesome. Cypher was originally a formal office of some kind within the Order of Caliban, which was the pre-heresy nightly organization of Lionel Johnson and the Dark Angels. Before the Dark Angels even existed, before the Lion even existed, there was the Order on Caliban. Whoever held the title of Cypher, according to lore, renounced their own name and their identity completely. They just had the cloak and the hood, and they were to embody the Order's laws and traditions. They served as sort of a advisor on protocol and ceremony. But the guy we're talking about today, Cypher, as a character, has appeared throughout the 41st millennium. He's a character that's been around since the very first Dark Angels, I think. Yeah, since second edition. Since second edition, he's been around. He seems to be echoing parts of this ancient office, although there's no confirmed connection between them. But he does definitely seem to be like the first Cypher or the guy from that era.
I wonder where his first appearance was. I want to.
He's a fallen angel, which means he's one of the Dark Angels on Caliban that betrayed Lionel Johnson and instead basically fought for Horus, even though they weren't really fighting for Horus. It's genuinely unclear whether Cypher specifically and the fallen angels in general are for or against the Imperium as a whole. The Dark Angels versus the Fallen conflict is very internal. It's very about their specific internal politics and not so much about the Imperium at large. At least it seems to be. Cypher usually operates alone rather than alongside others. He's done a lot of bad stuff. He's done a lot of good stuff. He's helped out both sides. He actually helped Gilliman get back to Terra, for example.
Yep.
And then in return for like what he wanted was an audience with the Emperor, and Gilliman said okay at first, and then was like, wait a minute, no, bad idea.
What?
And so he was put into the Dark Cells. The community tends to think that he may be Corswain, which is a Dark Angel commander lost to legend from the Horus Heresy, or Zachariel, which is a very mysterious named fallen character. But no official sources have resolved any of this, so we're just talking about it. Last year, 2025, there was a novel, Cypher, Lord of the Fallen, and that's what we're going to talk about now. Because him and several of the Fallen were captured and imprisoned in the Dark Cells, only to escape. They pulled a rock, not like the rock is in the Caliban, the remnants, that is the Fortress Monastery, but the rock, like the Nicolas Cage movie with Sean Connery, where they break into and then out of Alcatraz. I don't know. I just thought of it.
I'm looking for the first iteration of Cypher real quick. Continue. It's very fascinating that he's mentioned in a bunch of books, but doesn't have rules.
Well, he's had rules in the past. Cypher definitely has.
Yes. I'll
just briefly summarize the novel, and then we'll talk like more specifically about the Dark Cell stuff. But in the novel, Cypher, Lord of the Fallen, he and his fellow Fallen, they're captured, they're imprisoned in the Dark Cells. They escape during a covert Dark Angel strike team. There's a thing where a covert Dark Angel strike team is sent into the palace, and they infiltrate the Imperial Palace, which is kind of awesome. Go Dark Angels! The purpose of this Dark Angel strike team is to kill Cypher and kill the Fallen, because the Dark Angels, that is their whole thing, is to get rid of the shame that half their chapter betrayed Lionel Johnson, and they try to. Well, I'm almost there.
Yep.
So the Dark Angel team, they go in there and they disable the security of the Dark Cells in order to get in and kill the Fallen. But this, however, is what allows Cypher and his buddies to escape, or at least Cypher to escape. The story culminates with Cypher kind of pushing us all the way to the Emperor's inner sanctum. He's trying to get to the Golden Throne, but a dying custodian gives him a cryptic message that causes Cypher to abandon his goal and vanish, like Cypher always does. And as always, his true motive, whether it's forgiveness or sabotage or something else, is left entirely unresolved. That's what that novel is about. Now, go ahead, please, Alexis.
Cypher's first appearance is in 1996 Codex Chaos 2nd edition, and he is just a champion of chaos. Not much lore there, just it's really funny that he exists. I just thought that was really cool. I'm trying to see if there's anything else about him from 2nd edition. Or anything previous editions. But it doesn't look like it.
Nestor December says the Shadowkeepers are careless and didn't see Cypher was carrying a hidden teaspoon. With it and a lot of patience, he managed to dig a dimensional escape tunnel. The Cypher redemption.
So, okay. Hang on. Hold on. I got to bring this up because there is an item similar to this. I hate that it exists. But the Eldar have time scissors.
Oh my God.
It's as dumb as you think it is. It is an Eldari artifact that allows people to witness or go to events of the past. And with it, you can escape things. So it's incredibly stupid.
Where does this come from?
It comes from Saturnine.
Oh my God. There's so many things in Saturnine that Saturnine introduced a lot of things that were just like, wait, what? So
yeah, it's mentioned that Eldred uses them.
Well, they do describe it as the schemes of fate, so maybe they're trimming timelines with it somehow.
It's the human. God, what's his name?
Grammaticus?
It's Grammaticus that uses them.
Oh.
And it's apparently an Eldari artifact.
Wild.
But it makes sense that the Eldari would have a weapon that can battle time travel, since the Necrons use time travel.
I mean, it does make sense. That's true.
Yeah. So that makes sense, but for it to get into the hands of somebody else is fucking stupid. But that's just me.
Friend Trader gives us a super chat. Thank you, Friend Trader. He says, I always imagined one of the two lost Primarchs locked up in the Dark Cells. We did, you may have joined us a little later, Friend Trader, because we did talk about that. That Subject 11 is a named figure in the Dark Cells, and that is highly theorized to be one of the lost Primarchs who may have lost his mind or been wounded beyond healing by the Rangdan Xenocides. That's kind of a speculative theory. That may be what that is, but yes, good. Thanks for pointing that out, because I promise you we did talk about it earlier in the episode.
Yeah.
All right, so now let's hear it for Cypher. What happens in Cypher?
My cat found a fly and is currently after it. The one and only fly we get in Iceland. Mind you, we only allowed one. It is currently, get this, a whopping 17 degrees. Let me double check. 13 degrees here in Iceland, so it's a heat wave. I'm also trying to check if Cypher appeared in anything prior to this, because sometimes random characters existed in Rogue Trader, but I don't think Cypher existed in Rogue Trader, unfortunately.
No, he is a second edition character.
Yes, it looks entirely like he's the second edition character.
First edition Warhammer, also called Rogue Trader, is a very different look at the universe. That is a much more lighthearted future with Inquisitors called Obi-Wan Sherlock Clouseau and half
and
Eldar,
the Star Child,
Astropaths, and the Star Child. There's a lot of stuff. Suffice to say, the first edition of Warhammer 40K is a very, very different place. Second edition is where things start to become more like what we know now, and then it really kind of comes together in third edition. So yeah, as I was saying,
so I also thought of a different weapon that's probably within the within the Black Cells. Thank you, brain, for allowing me to say that very difficult sentence. But one of the weaponized scrap codes might actually be in there. A scrap code so powerful that it can actually override the Imperial systems like completely. Because we do know that scrap code is a thing in 40K that spreads like wildfire along computers and all sorts of their knickknacks. But we know that there's a stronger variant of it. And this stronger variant might be something that is locked up within the dark cells. So because we do know that some items in the dark cells are actually just items, like they are just things.
Well, you would assume that the Mechanicus would have to have access. Okay.
Yes.
You'd assume that that would be necessary. And there is some unconfirmed lore to suggest that there is a door of cogs, a little known service entrance into the complex, which is distinct from the routes that the Shadowkeepers use, which is specifically for Adeptus Mechanicus tech priests, which implies that the Mechanicus have some ongoing sanctioned technical role within the Dark Cells rather than being fully locked out. So
No.
It's unconfirmed, to be very clear.
I have so many questions about this because that's probably how everyone's escaping.
I mean, I would have a lot of questions about this too.
Like you just see the tech priest pop out. Hey guys, you can't come in this hallway. Where are the custodians? We go where we please. This is Terra. No, I said no, and your dad said so.
I was unable to verify the source for this, just to be really clear, but it's out there.
Yeah.
which is wild. But yeah, you were asking if some of the other Fallen escaped, if it wasn't just Cypher, or I think
yes,
I said
I
that. Maybe I asked that question. I'm not sure. We talked about how basically there was a defective switch built into the Dark Cells.
Oh, they left the off and on, and if you put it right in the middle, the light can't figure it out, so it opens all the doors.
No, I'm joking. that is actually not true. But yeah, the Deathwing Terminators and we're part of this Dark Angel Strike Force trying to kill Cypher and the Fallen before the Custodes could get to them first. And in the process of fighting their way through, they destroyed the generators that powered some of the containment systems. That's what happened.
Yeah. They threw a Snickers wrapper in it. It happens all the time.
Oh, I know that reference. Jurassic Park Dominion.
I wish it was in a Jurassic Park movie.
This failure did not just unlock Cypher Cell. Okay, it unlocked a lot of. Basically, there was like a little war down there as the Shadowkeepers were trying to recapture everything that got loose from this event. According to the novel, there were 3 other guys: Ascar, Becariel, and Corleal, which all escaped together with Cypher. But it's unconfirmed whether any of them, other than Cypher, made it very far. So there's it's possible that other Fallen escaped, but we don't. It seems unlikely.
Yeah, I doubt the other Fallen escaped, but I'm still curious as to how Cypher escaped. My theory is still the webway. Like,
well, then we know there's a webway portal behind the Emperor's throne room, and we know that Cypher in this novel got pretty far. He got, he nearly made it to the throne, so it's not out of the question.
Yeah, it is possible that he got to that and decided to bail out instead of trying to get to the Emperor. But it's interesting to see how far he got, along with the Dark Angels, who actually got into the Imperial Palace, which is kind of crazy, considering the Custodians should have just, killed all of them and maybe branded them as traitors.
Cypher's got plot armor. We know this.
Yeah, I guess they were just like, no harm, no foul, guys. Get out of here. Go skedaddle.
If you take nothing else away from this episode, take this away. The Dark Cells is one of those parts of the lore that have been only very lightly explored, and we know very little about them. So if you came here hoping for more concrete information, we've given it all out. Like, that's the last piece of this actually happened, as far as we know, that I can present is the escape of Cypher. Now,
check if there's anything else we can add to this, but
I was going to go over some of my other thoughts of what could be in there. If you want.
Oh, hell yeah, let's go. I'm curious about this because I am ready.
All right, so if you were to if Basilia Foe is not the only one from the Unification Wars, there might be some other Pan-Pacific warlords out there. maybe the last living archive of the military secrets of the Unification era. Possibly a rogue AI overlord that ruled a techno-barbarian faction of war servitors or something like that.
All right, I love that.
And my favorite, the mummified remains of a defeated witch king who worshipped a sort of proto-chaos cult that the Emperor specifically ordered erased from history.
So Nagash.
I mean, I'm not saying.
So Games Workshop's not above, like, literally throwing Emperor Palpatine in the first Horus Heresy book, or throwing the Transformers into the Warhammer setting, calling them the Men of Iron, or even taking direct references to other things like the Kroot being a stand-in for the Predator species. They did
Yautja?
get they got far more developed past what the Yautja were into. Those two split a long time ago, but I love the idea that there could be things from other franchises within the Black Cells, because you could have some funny things like Optimus Prime in one of the cells.
Well,
just sitting there.
So here's some fascinating thoughts. Okay,
the Allspark.
Based on things that we know that the Emperor had a hand in creating. Okay, and just like me speculating wildly, these are none of these are confirmed. None of the things that we've talked about in this section are confirmed. It's all just wild speculation. But so we know that the creation of Gene Seed must have been a monumental undertaking, and he had help from Astartes. He had help from the Selenar gene rights. He had help from a lot of people to build what we now know today as Space Marine Gene Seed, or essentially the stuff from which Primarchs are made of. That is not warp stuff, just the genetic stuff, right? The actual gene work. So if you had some sort of malfunctioning Gene Seed abomination, some sort of failed Legion experiment that was just too monstrous to let loose.
So what you're saying is an Imperial Chaos spawn.
Right. Basically something a lot like that would be down there. And we also know that he built the Custodians. And we know the Custodian, we have an episode on the Custodians. Go check that out. They may not even have free will at all. But if he did make one that decided to turn against him, a Custodian who refused to follow the Emperor's orders, that is something I could see him putting in a dark cell.
Yep. We also know that the Emperor was fond of taking prisoners versus destroying a lot of his enemies. If they proved to be very intelligent, the Emperor would take them prisoner.
Like Basilio Foe.
Yeah, get what he can from them and then destroy them. There is also the chance that he has other living saints down there.
Well, or the opposite of that.
Yeah.
Demon hosts.
Demon hosts, like really powerful demon hosts. Demon hosts that don't have like the Chaos Pantheon within them. They have something far worse.
Like the Tauva?
The Tauva would definitely be something put in there.
We have an episode on the Tau Empire. Go check that out if you want to learn about the Tauva.
Yeah.
This is just we're gonna, as the show gets older, you're gonna see me do this a lot.
Every sentence, Tau. We have an episode on that. We have an episode on that.
I'm gonna try and keep it under control, guys.
You're good. You're good.
Actually, this is a good part for me to mention that if you've enjoyed this deep dive into the grim darkness of the far future, please help us out by hit the like and subscribe button so that the algorithm can spread our heresy to even more unsuspecting minds. We appreciate it. All right, one other thing that could be down there. We talked about the Inquisition, right? And demon hosts are things the Inquisition is related to. So you could...
Oh my God, the Jacaros.
Well, I was saying, there's so many different factions of the Inquisition, and many of them are related to the true nature of the Emperor. If any one of these Inquisitors were to have uncovered some sort of forbidden truth about the Emperor's nature, he might be in the dark cells, because you would want him silenced. You may not want him executed, but you may want him silenced.
That is very true. And there are darker things in Warhammer that are scarier than chaos,
Mhm.
like the creature from Necromundas, like the internal core ocean demon god things might be something that are slowly trying to be removed from Necromunda and put into the Dark Cells, because that's a creature that can't be destroyed. They don't know exactly what it is. And every now and then when which gang is it? It's
The lack.
when the Delac gang gets too big, they send in the not the Ultramarines. They send in the Imperial Fist to quell them. We also know that once there's too much of an uprising on Necromunda, the Imperial Fist go in there, sometimes even needing extra like support to go and purge it. They don't purge the gangs, mind you, because the gangers are actual workers sometimes, and they keep the balance. And also the High Lords of the planet, not the High Lords of Terra, but the Lords of the planet, tend to protect their favored gang members. Um, but there could be some of those creatures that are within the black cells.
Rush says it might be fragments of the Tower of Babel. Games Workshop does tend to avoid like specifically referencing Abrahamic religion, but things like that, if you can imagine a myth or a legend that may have inspired that story, that is the kind of thing that you would see in there too. The Emperor has been around. We know this. He's been around on Earth since prehistory. So if there were any kind of thing like a Tower of Babel that did exist, he might have access to it. He might have certainly put something down in there.
The Rosetta Stone might also be something else put in there.
Professor Shap says maybe the remnants of a Tyranid that was killed. Like maybe the Emperor bumped into a Vanguard organism and didn't know what it was, but kept it in the cells.
The Umgarl,
right?
Umgarl strain of gene stealers.
Mm-hmm.
Or the mouse strain gene stealers might also be contained within Terra as a last resort weapon against the Tyranids. Because what we do know about the mouse strain adaptation for those Tyranids is it is actually Malkador does have the Rosetta Stone.
Malkador has the Rosetta Stone. Gary Gotrek Gurnison says they do talk about the lightning tower. They talk about the Tower of Babel. The lightning tower is an audio drama, if I'm not mistaken. Just to be clear, when I say that Games Workshop typically doesn't reference Abrahamic religion, I'm talking about the codexes and the core rulebooks, which are generally like the highest and most accurate level of canon. But yeah, the novels and the audio dramas, they tend to get they have a lot less oversight generally, and they will come up with they will talk about a lot of weird stuff in the novels. Go all the way back to Ian Watson books. I think Adeptus Ridiculous has a series on these, just how totally insane those books were. Novels in general are less accurate, shall we say, to the lore. But good point. The Lightning Tower is it's definitely worth listening to if you haven't heard it. Mornington Crescent has a good one. He says, "What's inside the black cells? The fact that 40K is meant to be satire."
That is such a good one. That is
nice,
such a good one.
Good burn.
One thing that might actually be in the black cells, flat out, Brain Boys.
Well, I mentioned the orcs, right? Like something for Urlak Urg's technology could be in there. Brain Boys, so we know the Emperor did consider orcs a very strong threat, like the Crusade. Like that was one of their first big battles was against the Orc Empire of Eleanor. So maybe, possibly, if those things existed, if they were encountered by the Great Crusade, which they certainly might have been.
Yeah, the mega teleporters might also be in there as a last resort thing to teleport terror away.
Yeah, I don't know if Necromunda stuff would be in there, because Necromunda it's 40K adjacent. It's not really technically part of core 40K. The IP has been split, No, but
you could definitely see them mention something that like a dark oceanic god from a planet.
Sure. Well, I was just going to say, like, 40K does reference 40K. Sorry, Necromunda does reference 40K, but it seems to be like internal to Necromunda rather than something 40K references from Necromunda.
Well,
those things have stopped a long time ago.
The Imperial Fist Codex does directly call out some things from Necromunda, like the Necromunda Civil War and junk.
Okay, well, see, there you go. So things may,
but it doesn't mention specific things like the gangs and shit like that.
Well, that so actually, that's a move in a direction I hadn't considered, because first of all, I wasn't aware of it, but secondly, it does go. It is a change. It signals a change in their
Yep.
attitude towards Necromunda, because for a long time it was, when I was working on Wrath of Glory, for example, it was entirely off limits to talk about Necromunda. That was 2017. That was 10 years ago. So yeah, absolutely. We know that they do recruit from Necromunda. Rush, that is something that's been mentioned a lot for the Imperial Fist. But I'm just saying, like, I was told directly when I was working on Wrath of Glory, just don't even go there. Again, 10 years ago, it signals a shift, and it's a shift that I'm in favor of, because I would like to see more connections between Necromunda and 40K. Wouldn't you?
I would love to. Do you know what could be in there though? What
Okay.
could be in the Black Cells? The Primarch's children, and they have no information about it.
Do you mean like
'Cause-
biological children, or like
like
the next
biological
generation?
children?
Okay.
Because we do know from the Fulgrim novel that Fulgrim has had many partners and loved quite a few of them, and Fulgrim is not a virgin. It actually kind of pointed out in the book, which is funny. He's had fun with some of them too. Yeah.
The Sensei, which are supposedly the Emperor's own children, could be in there, says Dire 648. Maybe, possibly. The Sensei are, that's extremely old lore that, I've talked about a little bit in some of the novels, but it gets very weird.
The Sensei sort of come up in a Gav Thorpe book as well.
Which one?
When Celestine.
Oh,
In
okay.
Celestine, she mentioned it. There's two possible connections. One, Greyfax used to hunt the Sensei. She used to hunt the
Seriously?
things
Wow.
that pretended to be, or she looked for the offspring of the Emperor. Now, it's not directly stated to be the Sensei, but it is something that she says she hunted at one point until she found Celestine. And it's kind of like, well, she hunted something that was related to the Emperor that she believed is Celestine. You have to follow breadcrumbs to be like, oh, is Celestine the child of the Emperor? Or does she mean Imperial demons? So it's very, very loosely worded. So I wouldn't say that it's definitely Sensei, but it's kind of like Hair's Sensei, Hair's this. It's sort of near it, so maybe.
I just made sure that Inquisitor Greyfax is on our list of topics to cover at some point in the future.
Yeah, she's amazing. I absolutely love Inquisitor Greyfax.
She's super cool.
Also, she's one of the few confirmed lesbians in the entire setting.
Sebastian Miller says, in a sense, the Dark Cells is like the shame corner for Big E's children. Well, we one of the theories was that, in fact, the prevailing theory amongst the lore seekers is that the Dark Cells' entire purpose is to be a place for the Emperor to put all his shames, his failures, and things that cause him shame. So, yeah, quite possibly. All right.
I'm gonna check something really quickly. Oh, don't have enough for that. No, we don't. Okay. So other theories that I have about the Black Cells and things of that nature is I do love the idea that it is an armory. I think that's cool. I think that's part of it. I love the idea that it's an interdimensional, like, whole hobble-baloo that's like horrors beyond horrors are kept in. I also imagine that Skeletor's in one of them because that'd be fucking hilarious. I also like that the Emperor's humanity might actually be locked in there. I think that could be really cool. Catan's shards makes sense, but we do have a whole list of things that we could go through. Like,
Okay,
what
let's
is
do it.
the Rathanya? Like, the one of the pieces of Dark Age technology that's within that thing. So, what are our thoughts that could be?
Well, the Dark Periapt or Black Periapt, I think, or what is it called?
The Black Periapt of
Yeah.
Wraith and Y'all.
Well, okay. First of all, there could be a Necron device, because Periapts are definitely very Egyptianish.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying that's a Necron name, but it's not an Egyptian name.
No.
So it could be Necron related. It could be a relic of the Dark Age technology. It doesn't sound like a person, though. It doesn't sound like a being.
No, it is
me.
a piece of technology.
Right. That's what it feels like.
So if I search Google really quickly, what comes up for this? Yeah, it's an aircraft, apparently. But it is strictly a Warhammer thing, apparently. That is it.
What, Periapt or the name?
No, the Rathanyal.
Yeah, Games Workshop has kind of gone away
Yeah,
from referencing real things with their names. So I would be surprised
that
if that
is
was.
true. This does, however, follow the naming conventions of the Demons of Zinch,
Does it?
because it has the double apostrophe in it and has
Hmm.
3 types of things put together. So it is a similar build process. I am reaching here. Let me remind you guys, I am reaching here. But what if it is a piece of technology that allows you to talk to demons? Like a dark age of technology supercomputer that is connected directly to the warp and hears the cries of the demons of Zinch.
Well, okay, so let me take a step back from this too. Like the Shadow Keepers have to face 4 demons to become a shadow. To become a Shadow Keeper, you have to face 4 different demons, right?
Yeah.
That implies that whatever they're guarding is a lot of it is connected to and is related to the warp, specifically the ruinous powers, right? Doesn't that follow, like, logically?
Yeah.
Now, I'm not saying everything in the Imperium makes sense. In fact, very little of the Imperium makes sense. But if I
Yes.
were to try to make sense of this, it would to say that maybe the Black Periapt is
The
one of
device.
those. Maybe that's the device that keeps the demons contained. Maybe that's
Ooh.
the device. I don't know. I'm speculating.
The whole I'm going way off of the black part of this, which reminds me of Nocolith or Blackstone, the Necron technology. We do know that the Necron technology can be used to amplify or nullify psychic powers. What if there's a third use for it, for containing? So we could have a piece of technology that's designed is to cut off demons from the warp itself, but keep them in reality. Unlike the Nocolith, which banishes them, this might be the piece of technology that the Necrons use to study the warp anomalies that the Eldar are using and develop a way against it. And in this case, it could be also used to pull demons into reality. That's my theory on this one.
Interesting. Now, Petrus Hypatis talks about the Black Templars have kept the skull of the Cacodominus. So maybe there are other things related to it in the Dark Cells. That entity was crazy powerful. There are a lot of crazy powerful things in 40K.
Yeah. Like Saboden Khan carries the head of what's his name? Doom Rider on his waist.
Oh, which I love. I love that
Now,
whole aspect.
there is a chance that Doom Rider comes back this edition, and I'm excited about that. Now, let's move on. It that
Wait,
craves.
well, I did want to briefly just mention
Oh, go ahead.
what the Cacodominus is, but if you want, it's fine. It's fine.
Oh no, go ahead. Mention what the
There's
Cacodominus is.
it's an extremely powerful alien cyborg psyker thing.
Cyber Demon.
It was responsible for a thing called the Howling, which occurred in the 34th millennium, so about 7,000 years before the current date. The Black Templars went after it and ended its psychic domination of an area of spanning roughly 1,300 planetary systems, which is a really big
That's
area
huge.
of space. And apparently the Cacodominus had enslaved all these populations, which that does sound like the cage, right? The Vexen cage.
Yeah, it does. It does.
To some extent. So it's possible that could be related to this. We don't really know the species or origin or true nature of the Cacodominus. So maybe, possibly. But this is one of the things I love about the Lure Seekers is they'll like connect dots that I had never even considered.
Yeah.
I'm like the Cacodominus. What? Oh my god! Holy crap! We do know that when the Cacodominus was killed, it let out a psychic death scream that burned out the minds of billions of astropaths across the Imperium and severely distorted the signal of the Astronomicon. That is crazy powerful, as he pointed out.
That is insanely powerful.
Holy shit!
Maybe they shouldn't have killed that and killed 8 billions of astropaths, because those guys are hard to replicate. Now, astropaths are not exactly getting busy with each other.
Now, I want to follow up with that though, because you were just about to talk about your theories on it that craves.
Yes.
Now, there is a alien species called the crave, although it's spelled differently.
Yeah. Okay. Go off.
And the crave, for what we know, are also known for psychically enslaving entire populations.
All right.
So if maybe it's not the Cacodaminus, but maybe it is the Crocodamus, or maybe the Cacodamus is related to the crave, or maybe the crave is related to it that craves. This is tinfoil hat X-Files territory. I just want to be clear, but it's possible. The crave were a dangerous and highly aggressive species of psychically gifted Xenos. All right, and we know very little about them. We know that they were kind of like they had bat faces. They had carnivorous faces like a carnivorous bat, and they had wings, or some of them had wings.
Okay.
They were big. They stood over 3 meters tall. They were very big. The crave were very tall. That's at least what, 12 feet?
Yeah, it's 12. It's a little. It's over 12 foot. It's like 13 foot.
So I know 2 meters is like over 6 feet, right? And then so 3
Yeah,
meters
it's
would
6'4".
be over 9 feet. So somewhere around there.
Yeah, it's 9 foot.
Like 10 feet tall. Let's just say 10 feet tall.
Yeah, just say 10 foot.
Sorry, I'm American, imperial units.
America.
It's just the way my brain works. I realize it's not optimal. The Rangda enslaved populations of humans. That's right, Nestor, but that was not through psychic means. You're correct. But the Rangdan xenocides, that may be why that one Primarch may be in there, if there's a Primarch in there. Please, why don't you talk about what you were going to say about it that craves? Because I think you had a pretty interesting idea.
Now I have an even crazier idea. So we do know that gods in Warhammer 40k, at least if we believe Vashtor, who is newer lore, who is trying to ascend to godhood, okay? So we know that demons can ascend to godhood. Sure, I guess if you just get powerful enough, it doesn't matter. Godhood in 40k is very loosey, okay? But it that craves might actually be the greater demon, or the thing that the crave created, a almost god of them, and the emperor simply captured it and put it into the cells so that it can't get stronger. He might have captured strong greater demons that are almost godlike level in the cells themselves, to prevent them from becoming gods themselves by separating them from the warp, separating them from what feeds them.
Okay, I'm gonna draw a different connection here, and I'm gonna draw a connection to something I know you don't like, which is the War in Heaven, or at least it's kind of become a meme that you don't like the War in Heaven. You actually are kind of like okay with the War in Heaven, but
I don't like the War in Heaven.
Reference it a lot.
I don't like the War of the Beast more.
Okay. Now, one of the older lore theories about how the War in Heaven ended was that the enslavers, which are beings from the warp that turn psychers into living warp gates in a very Cronenbergian body horror fashion, and enslaver plagues are said to be one of the most dangerous things in 40k. We believe, according to this older lore, that the enslavers were the ones to finish off the old ones.
Mm-hmm.
What if there was an enslaver, like a named character enslaver, who, once again, they turn psychers into warp gates, like they clearly are attracted to psychers. Who's the strongest human psyker of all? The Emperor.
Yes.
It that craves might be, I'm just drawing a connection here, might be an enslaver that wanted to turn the Emperor into the ultimate warp gate, to basically flood reality with unreality, to bring across, the vast millions and billions of enslavers onto Terra through what it saw as the greatest psyker warp, potential warp gate I've ever seen in my life. So if that craves might be, again, speculation, might be one crazy ass, super powerful enslaver.
I like that. I like that a lot. And they couldn't kill it. They can only capture it.
enslavers, I mean, there's very little we know about them. I worked them into a lot of stuff I wrote for Dark Heresy, including in Death Watch. They're involved with the Storm Wardens, which is the Space Marine chapter I created. So that's why I kind of went there with my brain, but it doesn't mean it's out of the question. And the enslavers have been out of the lore for a very long time. So it'd be kind of a fun way to bring them back in would be to say, if the Craves, it's an enslaver that wanted to turn the Emperor into a giant war portal. And actually, like, the Emperor as a story device is kind of neat because telling stories of his past victories can be a fun way to shed some light on other areas of the lore that haven't been covered a lot. This is what happened when the Horus Heresy novels were written, and we got more information on the Thunder Warriors and what happened to them, and all the Unification War stuff that we didn't know about before. I've lived through a long time in 40K, y'all. I've been around for large sections of lore, changing from this to that to it's just grown into this massive story. So Nestor Vitumbra has pointed out that it might be a Satan shard, and we do know that the Void Dragon might not be the only Satan that Big E encountered, that the Emperor encountered.
I still like the theory that the Emperor made deals with the Satan.
Well, he made a deal. He was willing to make a deal with the Ruinous Powers.
Yes, and the Catan are not as scary as Ruinous Powers.
This is a thing called the Bargain at Molech. If you are curious about it, we talked a little bit about it in our episode on the Greatest 40K Mysteries episode, which, once again, I'm pointing people to another episode that isn't this one. Sorry. All right. That's just the way it is.
So, moving on, we have the one of the Fel.
That could be almost anything.
So, I think this is the dead Satan. I think this is the Flare Satan.
Certainly could be.
There is part of this Satan. The last shard is kept on Terra. I think that this is a tiny fragment of that god on Terra. And if it gets out, it's going to unleash the Flare virus on the entire galaxy. As of right now, it inflicted the Flare virus onto just the Necrons that killed it. But my theory is that this last piece, this tiny part of the Shikon jewel, is just there. And it is so scary if it gets out, and it can't be destroyed by conventional means that the Imperium has access to. The Necrons, on the other hand, could probably destroy it, but not before the Flare virus spreads like wildfire. In fact, it might get more and more potent or weaker, depending on the shard in question.
David Thane asked a question about if the original Imperial Palace is about the size of the Himalayas, how much of that footprint underground of the dark cells and 100 custodians patrolling it can cover it. I mean, we don't know how big the dark cells are. We know that 100 custodians are on patrol. That doesn't mean I assume that means they can't cover it all, but that's still a lot of custodians. There's only 10,000 of them, so 100 is a significant number. And the Imperial Palace, if you center Google Earth on Nepal, the Imperial Palace basically covers all of Nepal and most of India and China. It's very, very big. And by the time you get to 40K, that's just like the 30K part. By the time you get to 40K, it covers like the majority of that hemisphere.
Yeah.
The Imperial Palace does. It's a very, very big structure. It's a mega structure.
It is so big, it has roadways where Emperators can walk down. Granted, Emperators are actually not that big when you think of giant robots. Like, most Gundams are bigger than it, which is always funny.
I do have some bookkeeping we need to get to before the end of the episode, if you don't mind.
Yep.
So next Wednesday, we're doing something a little different. We're trying out something called Lore Court, where Alexis and I will take opposing positions on a topic, and we will discuss it. And you guys, the lore seekers, you'll be the judge to decide which one of us has made the most compelling case. We're going to see how that works out. And we put up a poll for that. I'm announcing the poll now. The winner of that poll is, could the heresy have been avoided? Which side of this argument do you want to be on, Alexis?
I want to be on the side of yes, it could have.
Okay, so I'm going to be arguing there is no way to avoid it. You're going to argue yes, it could.
Oh, but there is no way to avoid it. Oh, you got me conflicted, you jerk. But also, yes, No, yeah. Oh my God. Okay. Yeah. You know what? I'm down for this. I am down for this.
Don't forget, right after this episode airs, there will be a poll for next Saturday's topics. Go vote on that. One of them is Ark and Land, so I'm hoping
Yes,
we go for that one.
please give us Ark and Lan. He's really fun, and he should have been the one that came back instead of a new character called Belisarius Call.
I can't argue with that as much as I like Call. I do like Call. He's a good character, but
Yes.
it might have been more interesting to be Land. Anyway, so there's that part. I also need to. I need you to talk about something while I throw up a banner. While I put together a banner for something else. But we have that, and we have another. I would tell everybody like what times we broadcast and which days for sure. Let's go for that.
Yeah. Do you want me to give you some time really quickly and talk about the Lament of Unreason?
Sure, go right ahead. I'll
so
figure
the
out what I'm
Lament
doing
of
over here.
Unreason is 100% the Lament configuration.
Oh, right, the Cenobites.
Yeah, it's the Cenobites. It's the device.
The Lament of Unreason.
100%. It is 1000% just the Cenobites.
Sebastian Miller says fucking Erebus. We have an episode on Erebus. He is that guy in 40K. Almost everything bad can be traced to Erebus.
Yeah.
Go check that episode out.
So the Lament of Unreason is a piece of Dark Age technology.
You think?
I 100% guarantee when they wrote this down, the person that wrote this down was just like, hey, Lament configuration. Oh, wait a second. Unreason. There we go. Big brain. Then there's the Triblight Amulet. I believe that this is the an amulet that contains a Nurgle disease or a greater demon within it that is so powerful it might contain diseases that that would just wipe out humanity.
Okay, weird thought. What if that's Foe's virus?
Actually, yeah, it might be Foe's virus.
That could be Foe's virus.
Yeah.
Talking about Belisarius Foe was actually one of the fun things today because he's such an interesting character, and I was really enjoying the chance to dig into him and talk about him on the show.
Yes. Yeah, he's amazing. I really like that character. I like that he's also canon. Like he's more canon than most characters because he is mentioned in an Inquisition book.
Right.
And specifically an Inquisition army book.
Right.
Which is a codex. It's not a codex, it's a supplement to a anyway. Then we have the Sorrow of Caracalla, which I believe is just murder hornets, because it is a numerous dangerous beings that are imprisoned. It's the murder hornets. It's the murder bees. That's what it is. Or it could actually be enslavers, like a small group of enslavers.
Don't forget the Psychonoin. The Psychonoin are insect-like wasps, basically, that live in the warp. They plant eggs in your brain. The people of Prospero, where Magnus landed, they had to fight against these things constantly.
Yeah, so I could see that this is actually one of them. The good old murder hornets from the warp.
It could be a Psychonoin queen, which we don't know much about their physiology, but it stands to reason that if they're insect-like, they might have some sort of evolved counterpart similar to a wasp queen or a bee queen.
We talked about that. And then that is it.
Okay, I've got something I would like to show very briefly. So, as you guys know, I also do a lot of stuff with role-playing games. And
you do?
Yeah, I'm the host of Lorebeards. I'm one of the hosts of Lorebeards and role-playing that we do every Monday. And I've done a lot of role-playing game work in the past. So I want to briefly show you guys a cool thing that a friend of mine is working on. It's called Glimmers of Darkness. It is a Prowlers of Paragon's book of supervillains for that game system. And he's got a Kickstarter going August 1st. If you guys want to get in on it, go check it out. It's actually really cool. It's a book full of really neat supervillains. And I am a stretch goal. I will be writing an adventure for one of these guys. In fact, you can see him here, Mr. Bites. He's the guy that looks like he's pixelated. I'm writing an adventure about him, if that stretch goals hit. So please go check that out. You do me a favor. You do my friends a favor. That's what.
Yeah.
This show exists to also help out, people that are worthy of your time. And this is a Kickstarter worthy of your time if you like superheroes and superhero RPGs. So
They are a
thank you
lot
very
of
much
fun.
for your attention on that one.
All right, with that, I think we have reached the end of our show. Overall, I really want. So I have to pose the question to you, Ross. Do you want the dark cells explained?
Yes. Well,
You there it is.
yeah, okay. I want to know more, but
Would you
they
like to know more?
exist. They exist in the story as a really cool, ambiguous thing, and it's almost more fun to theorize about it than it is to like. I think they could ruin it, kind of like the X Files got ruined
Yeah.
in some ways by over explaining the mystery.
I think what I want for it is something very simple. I want a story where Greyfax delivers something to the Dark Cells, and it's never explicitly stated what it is. By the way, the Hand of Darkness and the Eye of Night might also be in there because Gilliman did get those back recently somehow, which is weird because one's a spaceship.
Yeah, I can't see those fitting into the Dark
Yeah,
Cells.
but anyway, I want a story where they take something and give it to the Shadow Keepers to put in the Dark Cells, and along the way, they're getting attacked by a more unknown race. Like, hell, maybe even throw the Votan in there. Like, have the Votan be like, "No, you can't have that. That is our ancient secret. Like,
And
that's
it's
our ancient enemy."
an intact Votan AI could be.
Yeah,
That'd be wild. All right,
but
guys, please go ahead.
okay. I just want to say one thing before we go. In the grim darkness of the far future,
There is only lore. Lorebeards 40K comes at you every Wednesday, every Saturday from 2 to 5 Mountain Time. So please check back in for more great content. And we've appreciated all of you guys today. Thank you very much. And we'll see you next time.
thank you guys. Love you. Okay, bye.
Bye bye, everyone.